Steve, we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I am your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names and kicking candy ass. Live in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. And this week we welcome in longtime friend, first time guest. He is the legendary Mr. Henry Horstmann. Welcome to the graveyard, my friend.
John, it's absolutely, it's kind of like I'm nervous right now. Like honestly, it's like I'm on the spot and I'm working with such a pro right now. And like you said, you put it perfectly, like longtime friend, just the energy, the promo in the beginning. I'm ready to talk some Ghibli and you know, get this show going.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, and we had been actually trying to get together for a long time to do an episode basically on music because Henry is a big music lover. He's performed in operas, plays. I've actually had the pleasure to go see him perform, whether it be cabaret or there was an opera that he did indoor one, and there was also an outdoor one, which was a
Oh, you went to that.
beautiful spectacle. I loved that. And I
I
have some
forgot
getting
you
to
were
know
there
you
for that.
questions for Henry. So you're going to learn a little bit about his background into performance arts and singing and opera and all of these wonderful things. And
Mm.
also, we're going to get into Henry's top 5 Studio Ghibli films. And if you're a Studio Ghibli fan, like I am, and I've done an episode in the past on my top 5. Tonight we'll go into Henry's top 5 and we'll kind of break each one of them down and what we like about them and what makes them so great. So I'm super excited to have you on, my friend. We do have someone in the chat, Miss C, Miss Carter. Ciao, Grande and friends. Ciao, Miss C. Welcome. Now, first time guests, it's a staple on Grande's Graveyard. We do some getting to know you questions. So, Henry, I hope you're ready. I didn't give them to you before. These are raw, uncensored, and I hopefully they hit you right in the feels. So, you ready?
Wow, when you use words like that, I feel like I have to be open for it. So, all right, let's go for it.
Let's go for it. All right. Easy one, first one, maybe. What got you into singing, acting, and your overall love for music?
Mhm. Well, it was a series of failed sports attempts. I did baseball. I saw my one home run ball over there,
Grand
my
Slam
grand
Horseman?
slam. I got the ball. So I did some sports. I did some jujitsu. My parents were pretty much shuffling me around, and then I always did NISMA. You know, the vocal solo you would always do in New York for a competition. And then a judge was like, "You should take voice lessons." And so I got a voice teacher and went to college for music and fell in love with opera when I first started taking voice lessons. So that's what I, continue to pursue and develop, and also the related arts as well. So acting, musical theater, operetta, jazz, rock. I've been a band, so it's like anything musical or performance related, and I've been hacking away at it. So yeah, just one thing led to another, and the voice lesson stuck, and I never looked back.
That's fantastic, and I could tell your true passion for it because while I have seen you perform and I think you do a great job, I think like I could totally see the passion in what you do, and I think that's something that when you know someone truly loves it if you can see it while they're in the performance. And I could totally see that with you, and I really that's was something I always kind of looked up to you about, and something that's a big reason why I do this every week. Like this is
Mhm.
something I love to do and I'm passionate about, and people say that passion radiates. I totally can see it when you sing or act or perform. I could absolutely see it, and it's quite inspirational. Now, I know you, like you said, you've done a lot of singing performances, acting performances, things like that. What has been your favorite role, song, performance, anything like that? Do you have an all-time favorite that kind of stands out for you?
Hmm. Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is actually the operas. So it's funny, actually. You can see my recital poster for my junior year right here. I didn't plan this. Remember, these are all cold takes. This
Yes.
is me playing a role in a Mozart opera called "The Magic Flute," Die Zauberflöte, and I pretty much play a bird catcher in that opera. And it's about this Masonic trial. It was Mozart's last opera. It's a comedy, genius level stuff. It's probably on my opera shirt. I have an opera shirt, by the way. Um, so Yeah, I mean, the character is just so lovable, and the music is very easy. And you can steal the show. And it's very physical. I'm a big physical actor. I'm a big guy, so on stage that reads really well. So playing with that, and the music is just gorgeous, and it has the deeper meaning with the Masonicness. So that experience, and I've got to perform Papageno twice. I haven't done many roles twice, but that one I've been able to do a couple times, and I hope I could do it again. I mean, it's just for somebody like me, it's like just back pocket role, have that one ready to go. And then also this past summer, I just debuted Figaro in the Barber of Seville. That's got here it is, Il Barbiere di Sevilla. I did Figaro, so that's the classic Figaro, 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 Figaro. That aria, and that was another one like similar to Papageno, just really fun-loving guy hopping around on stage, harder music, but just as big of a payoff, and plus the experience of being in Maine for like a couple weeks, not working, and taking in the atmosphere and the musicians and the festival and nature and everything. It was like it's an upper echelon experience for me. Plus, like this is probably my first like big post initial shutdown from COVID performance, so it kind of had that extra oomph to it, to kind of put my weapons to the test, so to speak. So definitely those
That's
two.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I love it. Mateo is here. Ciao, Grande, and ciao, Henry. Interesting topic tonight. I only saw Castle One and the Spirited Away from Studio Ghibli. Well, they may just be on the top five, Mateo. You stay
Possibly.
tuned, my friend. Kubrick lover Brian's here. Hey, Grande and Henry Horstmann. Welcome, Brian. You would pronounce this better. I don't want to
Oh
botch the
yeah.
pronunciation. Go ahead.
So we have Turandot has the best aria in Nessun Dorma, arguably true, and Papageno Papagena in the Magic Flute is great, and also true. Yeah, that duet at the end is just like, it's just so much fun. It's Grande. It's literally like it's not like long lyric. It's Papa 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 Papageno Papa Papa. Like you literally are just Papa 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 the whole time, and you're just like quick repeat repeat repeat. It's so great, and you're
Exclusive propaganda on the graveyard. I didn't see this coming tonight, and I'm very happy and selfishly happy if so. Henry, you sing opera. My favorite
ah.
opera is William Tell, and Wagner is my favorite opera composer. What do you think of Tell?
You know what's funny? I know Tell is like this big, huge work by actually the same composer who wrote Barber of Seville. It's by Rossini. And but Barber of Seville is definitely his best. But William Tell is like this long out dramatic opera he did that actually, you would definitely recognize the overture. It's got one of those famous overtures that they used in movies and such. But I can't really speak on the opera. I know it's like a heroic tenor part, and the Met just did it not too long ago. It's what I got to listen to. But Wagner is actually probably my favorite composer as well. Uh, Wagner, oh my God, I mean, he changed the world. He started doing crazy shit on stage and built his own theater for his own productions and was anti-Semitic and just wrote all these crazy passionate works and you know just blew everyone's mind pretty much. He sent shockwaves through the world. So
And
this
that's
is great. Kubrick lover. That's to throw out names like that. You're
Oh,
legit,
yeah,
man.
no, and I know Matteo was straight out of Italy. Matteo is like, and I just had him on a couple weeks ago. He was a wonderful guest and a just a great
Oh,
friend. And he's actually, yeah, so that actually doesn't surprise me. I was like, if anyone knows Matteo, but yeah, it seems like Brian's into it too. If you guys have that movie, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, that movie is mostly an opera. There is no dialogue, only singing covers of popular Beatles songs. And
hmm.
I mean, I gotta love Beatles. Speaking of anime, my favorite animes are Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, and Howl's Moving Castle. Like I said
Mm.
to Mateo, stay tuned; those just might be on here. Grani, you pronounce it Wagner. Okay, okay. I thought it said Wagner up here. That's why I mispronounced it. But I apologize. That play the William Tell overture in Clockwork
Oh, they
Orange.
do.
Oh, really? Okay, I got Clockwork Orange right here.
And I
Don't
actually saw
say.
that movie in your basement, but didn't finish it.
Is that true? That's the first time you ever seen Clockwork Orange?
Yeah, but I didn't finish it. I had to leave like three-quarters of the way through. But it's still in my mind. Like the rawness of that movie is just like you
Well, I
don't
tell
want that
you
guy to
what, I got
follow
an
you.
extra copy of it. If you ever want it, I'll give it to you, no problem. Because
Please,
I
please.
love that movie. I like Bach,
Oh my
Shost,
gosh.
Stoktovich,
Shostakovich.
Beethoven. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going
Beethoven,
Bach.
Stravinsky. That's great. Yeah, I actually saw a Shostakovich opera at the Met this year. It was Lady Macbeth of Mitsensk, and there was literally live rape on stage. Not actually getting raped, but like it was crazy. They were lowering her down from like a crane, and there was like she was singing, and there was a naked guy like humping her in the cage. And
Wow.
yeah, it was like it's crazy Russian shit. Like they really wanted to, I guess, hit you. And I was in orchestra too, and the Met's huge, so I just was like up close, like watching this faux rape scene, and I was like, okay.
Was that the first time you went to the Met?
No, this was like a couple months ago. I've been going to the Met for like 15 plus years at this point.
Oh, I was gonna say that would be a hell of a way to pop your cherry at the Met to
Oh my
see.
god! Actually, my first fucking opera at the Met was Barbara of Seville. Bringing it all back to that, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great, man. I got another
Oh
getting to
man.
know you question here,
Yes,
and
yes.
it's the old school classic red pill, blue pill. Red pill, you get your dream job at a wonderful salary. Blue pill, you get $5 million tomorrow morning, cash free, no questions asked. Which pill are you popping and why?
Mm. Oh my god, that's so hard. This is. Let's see. I mean, where I am right now in my life, I definitely would have to do the dream job because, like, I've just put in so much fucking work at this point. It's like I want something to pay off. So, and it's hard, especially in our jobs as artists, to find and like people who do stuff like creatively. It's hard to find consistency, and isn't isn't that the dream? It's like consistent, good paying work. Like, wow. Um, Although so much wants me to take the 5K and fly the 5
More than
mil.
5K, 5 million,
Sorry,
buddy.
5 mil and just fly around the world. But I'm gonna have to do the dream job because I feel like I would be a shell of a person if I just had all that money.
Oh, I'm not. I don't know about that. Who knows? Maybe you'd open up your own, play or.
That's what I'm also thinking about too. I'm like, oh, but I don't want to be that guy who like funds his own show and makes himself the lead. Anybody who's done like a community theater knows that person where it's like, oh yeah, like
Yeah, it's like the little league coach that'll bat his son third, even though he sucks. Like that's
exactly,
we've all had
exactly.
that encounter in our lifetimes. But
Starting pitcher most games.
yeah, starting pitcher, bat him third, kid strikes out, goes 0 for 5, 5 Ks, and
Composite bat, $500.
yeah, exactly. The most expensive equipment on the team, but he sucks.
Yeah.
Last getting to know you question. If you could land one role in any Broadway play or big theatric opera, what role would you want to take on and
Oh
why?
my god. Oh my god. Because I have one for each of those categories,
Oh, go ahead.
so
Share
it's
them
just
both.
like, well, for musical theater, definitely Sweeney Todd comes to mind, because it is so operatic and that character is just so dark. And I usually do lighthearted characters, so it'd be great to do Sweeney. And the music in that is just so gorgeous. And I love Sondheim. I've never sung Sondheim. So there's that role. In opera, holy fuck. Um, I'm not a tenor, but baritones can sometimes turn into tenors. And especially if you're a baritone earlier on and you become a tenor later, there's a good chance you have like more heft to your voice. So you could actually sing. Wagner actually wrote for this specific voice type called the Helden tenor. And there's this one role called Siegfried. And it's a part of one of his operas where this guy is just like singing for like 3 hours straight. And he lives in the woods and he kills like this dwarf that stole him from his mother as a baby. And, there's like this whole magic ring. It's pretty much like Lord of the Rings, like the creation and destruction of the world. And Siegfried is like he's the key to like start the whole downfall with the ring. Like, and the character is just so, it's amazing. And yeah, so there's those two.
That's really cool. You're teaching me a lot of stuff about this that I would never know. So I'm actually quite I like listening to these. The William Tell Overture is very classic song. If you were living in the 30s or 40s, it was used as the theme to the classic radio show The Lone Ranger. I've never seen the show actually, but I've heard nothing but good. I like rock too. I saw John Adams, Nixon in China at the Met. Oh, that's very
Yeah.
cool. I've seen The Ring in 2 different versions.
Wow.
I listen
I
to
listen to
mostly
mostly
rock
rock
now.
now. Yeah.
Henry, I have a caster.
Stratocaster. Yeah.
Yeah, Les Paul and a
Oh man.
MIDI keyboard that featured on my YouTube channel and on my music YouTube channel. The
Gronin?
Rocking Ronin 47. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
We can subscribe though for sure.
That sounds great.
Mateo has a question for you. Stupid question, Henry. There's no
Mm,
such thing as a stupid question. No worries.
no.
Henry, since you work in opera, have you seen the movie Amadeus? If so, what are your thoughts?
I love that movie. I saw it I think a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, And what's funny is that Amadeus is played by the fucking babyface guy in Animal House. So what a crossover that is for that guy. But oh my god, just the story, and I love the reenactments of the music. And you always read that Mozart was like that, or at least music nerds like me did. And it was just, I thought it was done so well, and I need to watch it again. And Salieri is just such an amazing actor in that whole thing. And I realized the fucking one of the biggest Family Guy jokes that I love, the uh don't tell God it was don't tell me it was Stewie. It was God. And that's like direct from the movie. So when I actually saw it in the movie, I was like, there's another Family Guy reference I finally get. But it's good. It's long but worth it. I love it. Great movie.
Yeah, I do too. I think Milos Forman did a really great job at directing that one. I'm a big
Mhm.
fan of Amadeus as well. The William Tell Overture was used, I think, also in Looney Tunes. They play Wagner's Ride of the Valkyries in the
Valkyries, yeah.
helicopter attack in Apocalypse Now, and also Looney Tunes. Wow, that's a total shift.
You know what's
Apocalypse Now
funny
to
is
Looney Tunes.
I never seen Apocalypse Now. It's actually on me and my dad's movie list. He's like, you need to watch it. And apparently, the Grateful Dead drummers, and Grateful Dead is my favorite rock band. If anybody out there is a Deadhead, let's go. Dead and Company is too expensive, but the drummers of the Grateful Dead made a lot of the music for Apocalypse Now, and they showed it in like a documentary I saw. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah,
Um,
wow, that's something. Ring is
yeah.
Teutonic Norse German mythology. Fritz Lang does a 4-hour version of it on film. Wow,
Oh,
that's
really?
crazy. It's the Rocking Ronin 47, but with no spaces. Okay, I like
Okay.
Japan, so that's why I called it Ronin, and I don't like the Grateful Dead. Sorry.
That's understandable. A lot of people don't. I mean, it's really like you like licorice or you don't like licorice, and I like licorice.
I am kind of iffy on licorice. Depends on the color. Red licorice, I'm down, but I don't know any other color. I may not be down. I love Apocalypse Now. Okay, very nice. But enough of the getting to know you talk. Let's get to the meat and potatoes, ladies and gents. We just
Oh
had our
boy.
appetizer of Henry. We just had the background of Henry. Now we're gonna get to Henry's top 5 Studio Ghibli movies, and I've got some of. I actually own 4 of the 5 on physical media, so I can actually hold them up. But Henry, if you'd like, please kick us off. And Ben Grimm, I don't know if he's sidekick in the comments here, but Henry, give me your number 5, my friend.
Okay. I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. I think I do. It is. Yeah, I know my list actually. I know my list.
Oh, are you
Okay.
sure?
I think. Let me actually check something. No, I know it. I know it. Okay, so my number 5 is um a movie that I think a lot of people know about. I think a lot of people have seen it, and it's quite possibly uh, one of the saddest films of all time. It's Grave of the Fireflies, directed by Isao Takahata, I
Mhm.
believe. Uh, and yeah, let's talk about Grave of the
Yeah, let's talk
Fireflies. I
about it.
mean,
Ben Grimm commented this before you said anything, which is crazy. I would agree. It's my favorite as well, Ben. I did a top 5 on it, and I actually have seen the film 3 times, and I literally can't get through it without crying. So this is not gonna this won't be an easy discussion, but I do have brief plot synopsis just for I know people like these. Separated from their mother during the strategic bombing of Kobe in World War II, 14-year-old Seita and his 4-year-old sister Setsuko find themselves wandering in the carcass of their barren, scorched city, with their father serving in the Japanese Imperial Navy and their distant aunt concerned with their survival of her family. The siblings end up scavenging for food in a battle scarred country where shelter and, above all, resources are scarce. But life must go on. Why do all the fireflies have to die so soon? Grave of the Fireflies. Ben, I agree. It's the saddest movie ever made. Just saying. Um, Walk me through. Is this was this one that you had seen as a child? Because I discovered it later in life.
yes, actually, and I wanted to talk about that. When I was a wee little lad and my parents were feeding me all my media, uh, my mom first showed me Spirited Away, and I think she found out that my family, everyone liked it, and so I think just on a whim, she was like, "Oh, there's this other Studio Ghibli film. It's a kids movie, right? Oh, Grave of the Fireflies. I'll get it for my kid." And I'm definitely in like elementary school slash middle school at this time. And so, I see that, and it was just like one and done. We watched it, and I still remember like the feeling it brought me as a child, just that gut wrenching reality, you know, depicted in the movie. It is what it is. I mean, so I was very not reluctant to see it again because I think I saw it again when I went on my Ghibli tear maybe like a year ago. Was the first time I rewatched it since I was a kid. So it was just like I remember it hit just as hard, and honestly, most things that you appreciate when you're a child and you revisit them later on, it definitely was better. you know, uh, I remembered a lot of it, but oh man, it's still I remember I watched it, and then I watched it again with my friend Josh. Grande knows Josh.
Yeah.
Uh, I watched it again with him like 6 months later, and it was it's almost a movie that I think people need to see. Um, it's that good.
I agree, and I think that this is one of those movies that even though I discovered it later in life, like, this was not I couldn't imagine if I watched this as a 5, 6-year-old. I really don't think I don't know what would have happened. I
My
may have
mom
turned
remembers
it
this
off.
movie.
Oh, the Kathy? We gotta
I'll
give
go,
Kathy
"Hey,
a shout
mom.
out.
Hey, mom." Yeah, give shout out to my mom, Kathy. Every once in a while, it's like, "Hey, mom, remember Grave of the Fireflies?" And immediately it's just the fear, not the fear, but the sadness in her eyes, like, "We're not watching that."
No,
It's
it's
so great.
I can't get through without crying. Like, I really this is one of the I think it's the saddest movie ever made,
It's
and
almost hard for me to cry during it. It's just so much shock and, like, just disbelief of this reality. It's like because Ghibli is a master at turning on the waterworks, you know? I mean, like, cried so many other movies, but Grave is, like, one that I mean, maybe at the end, but for so much of it, I'm just like, "What could happen next?" I mean, I'm so on edge.
I think too, in like thinking about what this studio does and why Ghibli is so great is a lot of the times it's beautiful spectacles and animation and all of these things, but this is also a beautifully animated movie, but it's a really dark subject to tackle, and that's why when you see the not to sound like I'm singing the Pledge of Allegiance, but the bombs bursting in air, there is, when you watch it in high def, it is gorgeous to look at the reds, and it's beautiful. It pops, but it's really sad when you realize what's just going on. And I think it was really smart to take this through the perspective of two children, of a brother and a sister and their relationship and how they deal with the passing of their mom, which is truly a heartbreaking scene. But I think this is a tale really where it asks a lot about morality, and it asks a lot about what you would do. And I think it's easy for anyone to kind of Monday night quarterback it and say, "Oh, well, I would have done it this way, that way." I don't know, man. I can't sit here and say what I would have done differently.
Are you
And
talking
there's
about
always the big
Seita's well, yeah. I
yeah.
guess you're talking about everybody in the film, like the ants and Seita, because I mean everyone else. It's really like the ants' morality and Seita's that I guess makes the events happen. Uh, sorry, I felt like I cut you off. What were you?
No, that's fine. I think, like, for example, the aunt in this movie, they go to stay with her after
Yeah,
the mother's passed away, and she's just a real bitch. I mean, just just everything
yeah,
that she can give them an issue with, and it's listen, they just lost their mother, and there's no care in the world from this aunt. She doesn't care. That she's really acting as though these two kids are bothering her. That
yeah,
they're like she's doing them a favor, which yeah, maybe, but you're also family, right? At least on paper, you're family. This shouldn't be acting like you're doing me a favor, and yet it feels like it from the aunt's perspective. And then of course Seita at one point says, "Hell, the hell with you. I'm going off. I'm not
yeah.
swallowing my pride. I'm gonna go off and I'm gonna take care of my sister, and we're gonna be just fine."
So
And
we're talking about
unfortunately,
spoilers on this, right? We could do
oh,
that.
dude, yeah,
Okay.
Grande's Greater, we talk
So
in depth in this motherfucker.
all right.
Don't feel
I think the
afraid.
most fucked up part is oh yeah, great, excellent. I think the most fucked up part is when she literally tells young Setsuko that her mother died. It's like Seita is hiding this horrible reality from her little sister, and just I think that's probably the nail in the coffin is that once he found out that she just told Setsuko that the mom died, and she was just like, "Yeah, fuck that."
And how
And
he
then
holds in his crying, like he's trying to not.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, I mean, it's
One of
just
my favorite shots from the film, I know exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. And Ghibli in tears, just hand in hand. They do it
yes.
so well. But one of my favorite shots from the film is right after the initial scene, after they see their mom all bloody in bandages, and the doctor tells them she just finally was able to go to sleep. Um, it's like I think Setsuko is like crouching down to pee, and you were talking about how beautifully animated it is despite the subject matter, and it was exactly that because they were working with a I don't know if you remember this shot. It's like Setsuko is kneeling outside this playground, and all that remains is like these monkey bars. And then Seita is like just taking it in that he's gonna have to care for his sister, and he's the main guy now. And you know, you see Setsuko just crouching, like, I have to pee, not really knowing what to do, and Seita like taking this in, and then all of a sudden there's like a snap and he's like, "Look what I can do." And then all of a sudden, it's like, and this is where the music kicks in, which I will definitely be talking so much about because the music for Ghibli movies are almost as important, if not more important, to me than the actual film itself. But Seita snaps and he says, not snaps, he doesn't go AWOL, but he just cuts the tension and says, "Look what I could do," just to cheer up his little sister. And he gets on the monkey bars in the middle of this burned down village and starts going around and around and around, just this thing that would be entertaining to any child on any given day. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like hopeless, absolutely hopeless. Your city is burned down, and you're trying this last ditch thing to possibly make your little sister feel better. You know, monkey bars. I mean, what kid you think of monkey bars? You're brought back to your childhood memories, and then it's just this desolate wasteland. And oh my god, it's and that's
I
like 10 minutes in.
Yeah, I think the brother does such a wonderful job at distracting her, like you were saying. Like, there's a
Yeah,
lot of sequences of that, whether it be when they take her to the beach and they're
and
having a
she finds
nice
that dead
time in the
body.
water, and they find a dead body. I mean, and
Oh
it's
my
like, oh my
god.
god, like Jesus. But again, you know, even when she's upset and he wants to give her the she has these little things like these chews that she sucks,
Mm.
and it has the fruit flavor. At
They're
one
not
point,
being made
she's
anymore, by the way. They're discontinued.
oh, really?
Yeah, that was I saw that posting.
Oh,
Um, sorry. Anyway,
no worries.
uh,
No worries.
yeah,
Yeah, he pours he has all of these things at the bottom. There are kind of 3 of them at the bottom. He pours them and puts it in this little glass of water, and she drinks, and it's all kinds of tastes, you know, and she's kind of
yeah,
enlightened. That's the beauty, I think, from their relationship. He's trying to cover up all of the horror in the world that's going on around them, and she is almost oblivious to all of it. And man, I don't know that there's something about this relationship between the 2 of them. Now, this is something I wanted to ask you though.
yeah.
And I don't know, like like I was saying before, I would never Monday night quarterback this situation because I think it's a messed up situation, especially for any 14-year-old kid. I don't know if I was 14 again, I have no idea what I would do. But do you think he should have swallowed his pride and stayed with the aunt in the long run, or
Yes,
and why? Do tell.
I think that he should have gotten a job because that was the whole thing. Was that the aunt was like, "Oh, you don't work for your food," like And I know it's fucked up. It's really fucked up, and I think she's a bitch and an asshole
Yeah.
for not giving them any time. Like maybe there's like 2 scenes of her being like, "Okay," but then after that, it's just like, you know, clearly digging into Seita. Um, but it's a tough reality. But he should have like, what was the plan there? I mean, but also that's the thing about him being a child because he's not
Yes.
even,
He's
But if
being
that was,
defiant.
yeah, exactly, yeah, and they had a lot of fun while doing it, I guess, being defiant. But it's just that the beginning of that movie just says it perfectly. You just see the aftermath right at the start. That was the day I died. And then it goes back and tells the story. And like, just to think that's eventually he just dies in a train station of starvation, to think that it all amounts to that really makes and this is hindsight, obviously, but it makes me have no other option. Like, it could have been different. Like, yeah, we could have been treated like dirt, but at least we could have maybe made this work. I don't know. I don't disagree with Takahata's decision, and I think specifically Takahata also directed uh, Only Yesterday, My Neighbor the Yamadas.
Tales of
a-
Prince of Kaguya.
Oh yes, yes. And that one's kind of an outlier from the point I'm bringing up, I guess. But he does a great job of depicting the mundane, and not like boring mundane, but just the material world and what normal people are like. Yamada's being your family that you can relate to. You're like, oh, my family does that. You have Only Yesterday, which is not necessarily the most saturated Ghibli film out there, but it's still a very real, down to earth plot, and the animation in that, it just is so clean and normal. Uh, and I think he just does an amazing job at that. I forgot what the original point was that I wanted to tie this into, uh, but praise be to Takahata.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Takahata is one of the best to ever do it. But I don't know. There's just certain sequences in this movie too that I wanted to briefly go over,
Yeah.
especially the scene where when they're kind of staying out towards the end, and he takes her to the doctor, and the doctor says, "Listen, all this girl needs
Mm,
is food. She's perfectly
mm,
healthy if you just feed her." And
mm.
he just the way he kind of brushes him off, like no empathy, and it's just
How
sad.
can he? How can he? I mean, he's seeing probably hundreds of people like this a day, and it's just it's fucked up. But it's almost like you're lucky to even see a doctor, and he's right.
Yeah.
It's
It's so to me, like, when I watch it, it's like, "God damn it, somebody help them," but
oh
it's just not meant to be. It's one of those we know the fate, like you were saying in the beginning, we know that they're not gonna make it from the first minute, but it's
yeah.
the whole kinda way it plays out. To me, it's a film that makes you sort of second guess, "Okay, maybe I would have done this, that, or the other," but, it doesn't really matter. I do think that he was still a great butter. I think Seda was a great
Oh
therapist
yes.
to her,
Oh, absolutely.
and
100%.
I love the scene where, they play that song "Home Sweet Home."
Oh,
That's the scene that makes me cry in this movie, like, if you show that me that scene in any context, I will bawl crying. I can't help it. Where you see the perspective of the little sister just playing, enjoying, trying to have a good life, and it's kind of a brief montage of that, of her wearing funny hats and running around and playing, and
mm,
you see that this beautiful innocence is going to be taken away from the world just because of the horrors surrounding them. And I don't know, for me, it personally just makes me cry all the time because you see the song is called Home Sweet Home. All of these people that survived or they're going to be reunited with their family, they're home sweet home. But this is the other side of the coin. This is someone who doesn't even have a home to live in. She's living literally by a pond and is going to die of starvation and is eating rice balls made of dirt and pretending that they're food.
and
It's
marbles.
to me, it's one of the most heartbreaking sequences in the history of film where every time I
Yeah.
watch it, it does not fail to make me cry. The effective uses of music, the innocence of a child, and just the whole kind of way it plays out is, I think, truly uh, heartbreaking. But
And for her, that is home sweet home.
yeah, and
You're a
she doesn't
child,
even
you're
know it.
just no.
That's the beauty. I think it's her innocence is the beauty, and the way he kind of covers all that up and makes it all feel like it's okay and everything is well when it's not. But to me, the thing that really I would say makes this the greatest Ghibli movie for me, and I know it's number 5 on your list, is the finale where the two of them are in the afterlife and she sees him, and you have the fireflies around her, the
Mm.
kind of bright green and red lights, and she looks, Sata, kind of runs to him. They sit on the bench together. Time for bed. And I don't know, do they do a fourth wall break here, Hank? Because that's kind of what I see it as. They look right at the camera, pan up in the fireflies, and we kind of fade to black. I thought it was one of the most brilliant endings of all time. What'd you think of that ending, man?
Well, absolutely. I mean, and what you also get from that is that they're finally at peace. Thank fucking God. And that they could finally be together again and be not have the weight of the world on their shoulders finally. Uh, and absolutely a fourth wall break. And you know, I was gonna bring this up in the next one, but actually never mind. I'm gonna skip that point. But and yeah, and that's the even better thing is that it comes full circle to the beginning. Because that's how it starts, he's narrating from the outside, and also you get that great Ghibli train scene right there in the
Oh, of
beginning,
course.
and anybody knows Ghibli and trains are just they do a train scene better than anybody. So, um, and also train is definitely symbolic in this whole sense between I think living and the dead. Um, but yeah, absolutely a fourth wall break. Oh my god! And I was what a masterful fourth wall break. Like, oh my god.
I would agree. I always wondered if it was the director trying to ask the viewer something. Like I never could really make out like
Mm,
because for me when I first saw it, I was like, oh, I was like fourth wall break maybe, and then when upon rewatching it, I was like, man, are they trying to pose what what I have done? What would maybe or is it just looking at you like, yep, this was it. This was
well,
it for us. Like I
something.
think that could even be it. It may not even be a question for the viewer. What do you think though?
Um, well, something that I think Ghibli does really well with this movie is that there's no clear winner, or I'm sorry, there's no clear protagonist or antagonist. It's just everyone's decisions leading up to this point because you would think like, oh, fuck America, but one of the greatest scenes, well, not one of the greatest, but something that really puts everything in perspective in this movie is after they moved out of the aunt's house and they're living in the shelter, and Seita, they're in the mosquito net sleeping or whatever, and then Seita is looking up at the black ceiling and seeing the stars and seeing his father on that Japanese ship, and he's so inspired by this Japanese nationalism. He sits up out of his sleep and starts like fake shooting, pretending he's his father on the battlefield, really fighting for the cause. And so, and I think it's more just presenting this was the reality of the situation. A lot of people were subjected to this, and it might be asked. I think it's maybe right to think that they're putting the ball in your court. What would you do? How can you make a more positive change? But if you were not impacted by the last hour, 45 minutes by what you just saw, then you are a demon. You
Yeah,
enjoyed it, because it is seriously one of the most moving works of art out there. It is just my only reason why it was number 5 is that I don't know. I just feel like sometimes in this in the movie, it's just there's moments where it's like I like the dryness of a Ghibli film. I like the use of silence in their a lot of their films, and just it's just you and watching it, and you know, sort of meditating upon it, taking it in. But sometimes it gets to be a little much. I wouldn't say they could have cut anything out or anything like that. I just personally think I don't know. There's just moments where I'm almost waiting for a scene to just be over, but there's never a moment that I'm officially unengaged in the
sure.
movie, or it's not something like what was that one film that we talked about, Hereditary, where I felt like that could have easily had a whole half hour cut out of it, and I would have been happy with it. Nada,
Yeah, no, I hate Hereditary, but I definitely I don't know. I definitely would say the only reason I could ever see somebody because I have it number one, I could see
yeah.
someone saying it's a really hard rewatch, like because it is. I actually can't watch this without crying. It's like one of 5 movies maybe that can do that, but it is for me. I would say a
See,
10 out of
yeah,
10, an all time great movie.
I could absolutely agree with that. And the only reason I actually love inviting that. I love a good cry. So it's like if anybody was ever like, "Hey, you want to watch Grave?" I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" Like let's do it.
I
Let's
wish
let's
I
do it
had that
together.
mentality. I don't love a good I feel like crap when I cry. Like I can't it's
Mm,
very rare unless you cry of joy, which is also it's even more rare. Maybe when these guys won the division in 2015, that was one of the few times in my life I cried of joy.
mm,
Um, Brian says, I think I would say is my top 5. Grave of the Fireflies at number 5. Okay, so you're right there with Henry. Maybe Kiki's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle. I think that's an excellent top 5. Spirited
sure.
Away and Howl's Moving Castle just blow my mind visually. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that what makes Japanese anime movies cool is the English dub. Very cool. I love Japanese culture and can speak some Japanese. I have a whole bunch of Japanese movies, and I would like to go there. I would like to go there too. That's like my number one. If I ever could leave this country, I would love to go to Japan someday. Sean Blue Digital's in the house. Hot tamale grande. Welcome, my friend. What's up, everyone? What's up, Sean? Hope all is well with you.
Welcome.
If you guys ever see, oh, of course, Finding Nemo, that's a all-time. I actually have that on VHS over there somewhere. That's a real heartbreaker. I love
Of
that movie. I'm
course,
a big
you're a
Pixar guy.
'97 kid.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. I don't really know if Grave of the Fireflies is actually for children. Yeah, that's the thing I wonder. Now, it was played aside a movie that's also on your list as a double feature, and it may just be coming up next. So I guess I could save that for them. But yeah, the other one is definitely. But Grave, I don't think. I'm glad I didn't watch it as a child. Someone should link Henry's channel, but I'm probably already subscribed. Well, Henry doesn't do current content. At least I don't think you do.
You could find some videos of me singing, I think, but I haven't really. I do to go back to getting to know you. I need to up my presentation of myself on social media. So if you want to subscribe, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll release an opera aria video or something. I am performing all the time, so
Yeah, I'll be sure. I can drop the link in the description below or something like that. It's just his name, no space. Henry Horstmann, two
yeah.
N's, the end. It's he has some fun old videos on there when he was kids with our good buddy Dan,
Oh no,
who's been a frequent
that's
guest on
actually a
the
different
Grateful.
channel. Don't
Oh,
don't
is that a
subscribe to that
different channel? I
channel.
thought that was your channel.
Oh, were you about to post that in the chat? I mean, if you want a good laugh and you really want to get to know me, like look at those videos. But
Yeah, no, we can. We definitely will provide a link for Henry. Technicality question: every cartoon from Japan is called anime, um, or for being called like that, you need a comic manga that is done before. Enlightening me, guys. Thank you. What would you say to that, Hank?
I think manga, yeah, like you said, is like the comic graphic novel form, and when a manga gets adapted to a show or a movie, it's called an anime, I believe. I mean, that's what I've been calling it.
Yeah. Let's see. Kubrick says, I don't think anime, especially Studio Ghibli, paints their animation and not using computer animation. Yeah, I wish they had done that with the goddamn
Earwig.
oh wow, we got a ton of comment. But we gotta get
Oh,
to
really? Oh, wow.
yeah. Sean said, hey John, doing good, bro. Good to hear. Sorry about saying about don't be sorry at all.
You're good, man. You're good.
All good. I can provide a link. Don't worry about it. I will. I totally will. In fact, I'll while we introduce this next movie, I'll find the link. I'll throw it down. So,
Okay.
Henry, what is coming in at number 4, my friend?
So number four, as Grande kind of hinted at before, and I almost gave away, but I decided to move past this point. The movie that was released alongside Grave of the Fireflies, a fun little tidbit that I did not know until I think John pointed it out to me one day, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And I think the fact that it's paired with this movie is the reason why I have it at my number four. A lot of you already mentioned it, and it absolutely deserves to be in a top five. Is My Neighbor Totoro. Um,
Totoro. Gotta love Totoro.
I mean, come
Um,
on.
Yeah, I've got your channel here, but I'll do the plot synopsis first. When two girls move to the country to be near their ailing mother, they have adventures with the wondrous forest spirits who live nearby, including Totoro. Yes, My Neighbor Totoro from
The one and only.
1988. Weirdly enough, this was released as a double bill in the theaters, which I couldn't think of two movies any more opposite. But I
Yeah.
love this movie a lot, and I think it's actually a great movie for like all the other reasons, as opposed to what Grave of the Fireflies would be. But walk me through your first experience with this one. I've got the link to your channel. I'm going to throw it in the chat right now.
So, I mean, I went on a Ghibli tear when I was not a tear. I went on my tear recently, excuse me, when I consciously decided after I watched Grande's video on Ghibli, I was like, I'm gonna watch the catalog. Like I need to. I don't know if I've seen Totoro before. Maybe it's a distant memory. I watched it maybe 6 months ago, just on HBO Max. I was like, it's time. I need to do it, and I loved it. I actually found myself crying more, and this sounds so weird, but this is their definition of crying, I guess. I found myself crying more during Totoro than I did Grave of the Fireflies. And I was just blown away. I thought, kind of like a reason why it's not a lot of high up maybe on people's lists is because it's kind of a movie about nothing. But there's so many more reasons that makes this movie the iconic Ghibli film it is, in my number four. And the reason why it's above Grave of the Fireflies. So yeah, absolutely blown away. And especially musically, this is where I think Joe Hisashi really hits his stride with what's to come in the future. And what I love about it even more is that you still actually have his tie to the past. Hisashi was actually an avant-garde, like synthesizer musician. He was not always composing using orchestras. And what I love, love, love about Totoro is that you start to hear some of these symphonic uh, writings of his, really come to life, but you also still have these super duper synth tracks. And just, I'm so music nerding out about this right now, is that, and around his time is when a lot of these famous keyboards that he used in the 80s songs and in production had these cool sound patches on it, um, were being used and were really popular. So, and today it's super cool because has these sounds anymore. So, he's using these super like dance beats to like show the haunted house and like the dust bunnies, but then he's also reverting back to the lush, gorgeous orchestra for nature in the movie. And I just think musically, it just propelled this movie to a whole new level for me. On top of it, we were talking about how gorgeous Grave of the Fireflies is, but even starker, I think, is the animation in My Neighbor Totoro. I mean, if somebody were to ask me sum up this movie with one word, I would just say green. And it's all about the color green, baby. And Totoro lives with the green. And what I love about this is that I think it's set not too long after Grave of the Fireflies. So this is also why it puts it above it for me, because I feel like I would appreciate that lifestyle so much more. And just to think, if people died in these horrors, absolute died with nothing. You think of Seita and Setsuko, they died with nothing, horrible life. And then just a mere 10 years later, you have another sibling duo. You have May and what's her name again? The older sister.
I got you.
May is the younger sister. And
May
then,
and uh, Satsuki.
yes, Satsuki. Um, and look at them. Like their whole outlook is the complete opposite of what was in I guess the movie that would have followed it.
Yeah.
So I just think having that appreciation, I think, for life, compared to like clearly what they're showing you, like, listen, it's the complete polar opposite in a lot of the other scenarios, just makes me appreciate this movie so much more. And the fact, you know, even I don't even mind the fact that the mom is fine in the end, because I think a lot of people give this movie shit because, it's built up in the movie that the mom's dying or might be dying. The kids don't know. The father's kind of keeping them in the dark, which is again a privilege. It's like in Grave of the Fireflies, those kids literally have to see their dead mother, like, or at least Sata did. But it's such a privilege to be hidden have this information hidden from you. It's almost like this little game. It's like a normal childhood. Like we've all had that with our parents, the white lie.
Sure.
And how great is that? um, and I've kind of lost my train of thought, but it's just I just love this movie. What were you? Did you go over the plot or
Well, I just did the brief plot synopsis
you
like
did?
always,
Yeah.
but I would say that this is I would agree with you. This is really a movie about nothing. But I do think I will say that it does have a message, if that makes any sense. And that message is kind of that, in my opinion, I always looked at it as everyone needs a Totoro. When your mom is sick, like their mom is sick in this movie, and the dad is struggling to raise both of you and keep a roof over their houses and provide food and all of that stuff. Everyone needs it. Totoro is what Seita and that's what they needed, right? That's totally
Oh
they
my
needed a
god.
Totoro. to feed
Wait,
them.
is the father struggling? It seems like the dad is like just a regular working man.
But I
I
mean,
never
like,
got
I would say struggling in the sense of, being a single parent. It's definitely not easy
Oh,
where your wife's in the hospital and you have to, chronically go and visit and stuff like that. And he does. And it's kind of crappy. But, during the day, his two daughters kind of explore the yard and chase these little, like, I always call them like dust ball people with eyes. It's kind of fun. The
yeah.
animation in this is really, really beautiful. It almost, to me, always felt like something almost out of Dr. Seuss. At least I know people wouldn't agree with that, but I always got the Dr. Seuss vibe from this particular movie.
And this
And
is
how
classic Miyazaki here. Big
oh
contrast with the direction style of Takahata. I mean, you just fantasy to the max. It's just maybe not as much as like something like Spirited Away, but just that element of how far can you go with fiction. He just knocks it out of the park, and this is
yeah.
why it's some people would consider it his best.
It's funny because, like, I've heard there's two real camps of people. There's camp that love it like we do, and there are a camp of people that just go, well, there's no plot, there's no real conflict. Like, what is the
Yeah,
like why what is the great appeal? And of course, Totoro is the mascot for Studio Ghibli, and that's why every single Ghibli movie before it starts, you see Totoro. I think that's
yeah,
their mascot. Like what Mickey Mouse is to Disney is what Totoro is to Studio Ghibli. And I think I get why. It's because Totoro is just a sign of happiness, a sign of peace, a sign of beauty, and a sign of escapism. And that's really what I
yeah,
think Studio Ghibli is at its core. And it's a really colorful thing. And that's like all of the stuff in this movie, whether it be the infamous cat bus that runs around and picks them up, or the classic scene to me in the rain when she's waiting for her bus, and then Totoro just kind of
mm.
shows up with a leaf on his head. And I
Yeah,
I think it just has such a nice heart and sense of humor to it. And I love my favorite scene in
yes,
Totoro is when they're running around in circles. I saw it in a dream. No, I saw it in a dream. And the kind of plant starts to grow like magically. And Totoro with his big umbrella. It's just, to me, it's the most essential, perfect children's film of all time. And like, who's to say there has to be a plot? Who's to say there has to be a villain? Why? Why not? Like, I think
exactly.
it's a different type of storytelling that really kind of hit home for me. I thought the simplicity of it is why it worked, as opposed to A Grave of the Fireflies, where this is so complex and dark, and then this is so simplistic and bright. I think it's the weirdest double feature of all time, but it did play in the theaters together. I don't know. I really love Totoro, and I agree. I think this is really, even though people say Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was kind of the movie that kicked off Ghibli. And then even if you look at A Castle in the Sky, some people say that was the true first Studio Ghibli. To me, this is the first one that it feels trademark Ghibli. Like
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
if someone to say, show me a movie that defines Ghibli, this would be one of, if not the first one I'd grab for sure.
Interesting. I actually might do a Howl's Moving Castle because I feel like, yes, that definitely put them on the map and was their trademark, but then it was just like absolutely hitting gold when it came to like Spirited Away. And by that point, it was just, that's when all the Westerners really started to love Ghibli, was when Spirited Away came out. That's how I found out about it. I know a lot of other people found out about it when they were the same age as me and their parents brought it home, watching the cringy yet the only version I can watch it in English dub. So, but absolutely. And Totoro absolutely is in that chronology, deserves a medal of achievement.
I do too. I think it does deserve a medal. And if you watch closely, any Toy Story fans, in Toy Story 3, Totoro can be spotted. Totoro is one of
Oh,
the
that's
stuffed
right.
animals in the room, which I thought was a really nice kind of homage to the importance of Studio Ghibli, and how many, kids our age, these movies really caught us in the right age. Like I saw Spirited Away when it came out. I was maybe
Mm,
five maybe when this movie came out, and my grandmother brought it home on DVD, and I was like, that is
see?
unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Like, this is so, granted, it scared the shit out of me, just like your brother Andrew. And you know what scene I'm talking about, because the when the parents turned to pigs, Andrew and I fucking
Oh,
freak out. To this day, I talk with Andrew about how that scared the shit out of me. All the horror movies I've watched in my life, but that scene left a profound
so
impact.
freaky.
These movies caught us at a perfect time. You know, we were growing up when these movies were kind of being re-released in America, in whether it be
Yeah.
home video form and DVD and Blu-rays and all that stuff. So I always thought that was really cool. But I don't know, man. Totoro to me, it's a perfect Ghibli. I think it's a great spot too on the list. I'm glad because I know that a lot of people think it's overrated. I'm so glad you don't because there are a lot of people that go, there's no plot. But
I absolutely understand. It's a movie that requires patience, I think. It's kind of like baseball. It's like the beauty is in it if you look close enough. And I could totally see it is not as eye-catching as Spirited Away or Howl's Moving Castle, um, things that are more that they have that are more flashy. But I think that's where the beauty comes from is from the appreciation of the simplicity of how well done the simplicity is in that movie. I mean, the animation is just top notch. I mean, I love nature and animation, and I think this does it maybe the best that I've ever seen. And that's really just the Ghibli message overall. And it, has always been this appreciation of nature, and that's always really resonated with me. I'm a big outdoor nature lover, uh, and so I absolutely connected with this movie right away on that fact alone. I want to bring up this because I just found it out yesterday. Apparently, at the Ghibli museum in Japan, they have like 3 exclusive short films that you can see there that are like, Ghibli short films, but you can only see them in the museum. And one of them is a sequel to My Neighbor Totoro called
what?
May and the Cat Bus. I just found this out last night.
No way. Henry, you know
Yeah,
what this means? We got to go to fucking Japan.
dude, every day. And I just started following Ghibli on Instagram, and so many of my ads now are for the Ghibli products. I'm like, God damn it, this is tainted. But I also
That
want
museum
really,
looks incredible too. To anyone who has not seen
yes.
there's a great video where a couple did like a 13-minute walkthrough of the entire park. I it's like the holy grail of places I want to visit. Like some people want to go to the Grand Canyon, others want to go to Vegas. I want to go to the Ghibli Museum just because that looks like my heaven, right? Like you could bury
Oh
me
my
6 feet
God.
under there and I'd live
Yeah.
happily ever after with the fucking fireflies. Sean Blue Digital says, "Oh, that's what the artwork is from. Never seen My Neighbor Totoro." Yeah, that's crazy enough.
Uh,
This iconic artwork
yeah.
is from this movie. Thanks for the link. Okay, Henry, it looks like you're gonna have more subscribers by the end of the night. You were at 12 when I looked, so you'll be at an unlucky
At
13 at
least
least.
13. Oh God.
Professor Macabro is here. Greetings and salutations. Ciao, my friend. Welcome. My Neighbor Totoro technically has no antagonist. I'd say the antagonist is the mother's cancer. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. My Neighbor Totoro is sort of the Japanese Dumbo. My Neighbor Totoro and Dumbo would be a great, good double feature, especially for a toddler. I would agree with that. The
Yeah, sure.
animation in all these Studio Ghibli films is so colorful, bizarre, and weird. I love them. I do too,
We love them
Professor.
too.
Happy to have you here, man. Slowly moving up the ladder, Macabro, and happy that you got nominated for Horror Tuber of the Month. No way, dude.
Wow.
If you guys haven't already, go out and vote for Professor Macabro. Guys, if you want to drop the link, feel free. I think I voted for Wes because me and Wes are good buddies. I didn't realize that Professor was nominated. So if you don't get this one, I promise I'll vote for you on the next one, man. You're an awesome guy. Got a great channel. I'll be happy though if I can finally break 100 subs. Well, we can help you with that. Hey, if you guys aren't already, please subscribe to Professor Macabro's channel. Like I said, you can drop the link right here if you guys are not already. Yeah, I hear you, and it'll happen for sure. Definitely, man. Patience and a lot of hard work go into it. I listen to the actual Japanese and anime films just like other foreign films. I don't like hearing Hollywood celebrities voice those characters. Yeah, this one, like this is the English dub with the Fanning sisters as the I like the Fannings, and I think they played off each other quite well. But I watched Princess Mononoke with the Japanese dub. So I don't know, like it's one of those things where does that bother you, Henry? Like, are you cool with the English dubs of
Oh,
these, or do you prefer Japanese?
I'm in agreement with Kubrick lover. I can't do the English dub anymore. The only one I will do is Spirited Away, but that's because that is childhood programming right there,
Yeah,
and I just have to. Those voices are iconic and legendary to me. But I literally have been in situations with Josh where we're like trying to watch a Ghibli movie, we can't find a Japanese dub of it, and I'm like, I won't do it. I'm not gonna sit through 2 hours and just to have to rewatch it again. Like, yeah. So I'm absolutely with Kubrick on that.
I would be too in majority. Granted, a lot of the physical media ones they have only the English, so
Oh,
you don't
yeah.
have a choice. And I'm a big
Nope.
physical media guy, so I don't know. Totoro sort of has a playful humor to it. I would agree with that. Maybe they put Hollywood celebrity names on the covers. Definitely, they do for sure. Like you see
And
the
they get a
Fanning
lot of them.
sisters. Yeah, and I remember the Fanning. One
Mononoke
of them was
too.
in Charlotte's Web.
Oh,
Adam Savage made an amazing Totoro costume for a con. Did he? I didn't see that.
really?
That's gotta be awesome, I can only imagine. I like the fact that Totoro doesn't
Me
talk.
too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Oh, Porco Rosso's great. That's like that would be in my one of my underrated ones. Nausicaa, I have Nausicaa, that's a great film as well. Although I would say I like one of the films we're gonna be talking about very soon a little bit better. I'm getting my anime films mixed up. No worries, I love both of them. What's more freaky, the parents turning into pigs or the kids turning into I would say the parents turning into pigs in Spirited Away, but I don't know. What would you say to that, Hank?
You know what? I don't have a reference. I'm a bad American. I don't really have that scene with the donkeys from Pinocchio in my head, but the pigs is freaky. It really is.
Yeah, I don't know. That scared the hell out of me. Did both Moving Castle and Spirited Away win Academy Awards or just one of the two? To my knowledge,
I think
Spirited
just
Away
Spirited
is the
Away.
only one of any of these movies to win Best Animated Film at the Oscars. So I don't know. I like personally don't understand how this didn't win an award. And you know
Oh, come on. That could not win. Not in a million
why?
years.
I would say that's the best animated, one of the best animated movies I've ever seen.
It's one that you just have to come to on your own. It is not meant for mass consumption, I think. Although
That's
everyone should
true.
know it.
That's true. I'm glad Spirited Away deserved it, but I definitely like. I think there's a lot of them that should have maybe won for like best animation. Like. I know
I
they
agree. I
generally give it
agree.
to Pixar movies. No?
No,
Oh,
I
you
agree.
do
I
agree.
agree. I agree.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said you not agree. I was like, oh my goodness, Henry. He too
What
had.
is this stream turning into?
Didn't Miyazaki win a special Oscar? Yes, he did. That's true. He won an honorary Oscar. One of the most famous '80s Japanese anime movies
Oh, I need to
was the
see
movie
that. I need
Akira.
to. Andrew tells me about that.
Oh, yeah,
Oh
and
my
Andrew's
god.
got great taste. He did the
Yeah.
Criterion Challenge, is a lot of fun. Absolutely vote for Professor.
Yes. Go
Um,
vote for him.
Not sure why that didn't link up. You could send in a don't worry about it. Oscars don't trend to nominate downbeat films or give awards to. Well, that's a shame because I definitely think sometimes it's totally justified. But
I
so that
agree.
was My Neighbor Totoro coming at number 4. Hank, we're in the top 3 now, buddy. What's number 3?
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm still making sure that I have my list right in my head. I know. Okay. So
I have
number
your list
three.
here if you ever get lost, but I think you're good the rest of the
I
way.
yes. I only have 3 more to go. So this one I did not see as a child. It was actually the first Ghibli film I watched when I consciously decided last year to go down the rabbit hole. I, had like 20 something movies ahead of me, and I was like, this is a big list. What do I pick? And I picked this one first, and I watched it again. I think I've seen it 3 times now in total. And every time I just have a newfound appreciation for this absolute masterpiece. Coming in at number 3, we have Princess Mononoke.
Hell yeah. I got a brief plot synopsis for you, Hank. On a journey to find the cure for a tatter Tatarigami's curse. Sorry, some of these names. Ashitaka clan finds himself in the middle of a war between the forest gods and Tatara, a mining colony. In this quest, he also meets San, the Mononoke Haim. Yes, Princess Mononoke, Hayao Miyazaki's film from 1997. This was the first one to really break in to America. Like this was the movie that I believe what happened was I think Miramax might have bought this. This was they dealt with the
Oh
Weinsteins,
wow.
which we all hate the Weinsteins, but the Weinsteins bought it, and there was the whole thing where he sent them a samurai sword and said, "No cuts, don't cut my fucking movie." And
Wow.
you can release it. And so that's why he sent them that sword. And the Weinsteins were like, holy shit, this guy means business. So basically what they did was they didn't cut the
Oh
film,
my
didn't edit the
god.
film, but they did do these big actor voiceovers. They got actresses like Minnie Driver to come in, and like you were saying before, a lot of people take that or leave that. But that was the big. This was the big movie that kind of pioneered them into American
Very important.
cinemas. And tell me about this one, man. What are your thoughts? Because this one, I'll be honest, of the five, I don't own it, and it's the one I've seen the least of these five. But that's
Really.
not to say that this isn't a fucking masterpiece, because I do think it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm a big fan of anything like feudal era, and this definitely has that tie back into like a fantasy esque feudal realm, and so that setting immediately just grabs me. Again, just like amazing animation of nature. I think you have an even more mature Hisashi. His soundtrack in this is purely orchestral and cinematic. And I was talking to Grande about to this before, but I just wish I. This is a movie that I wish I could have been there in a theater, surrounded by the sound, just feeling the whole thing. And I think the story is just super compelling. Much like Grave of the Fireflies, I love that there is no. You could say that everybody is good, and you could also say that everybody is bad in this movie.
Yeah,
And I love the use of Ashitaka, who it's really interesting because he starts off and you think it's really just going to be all about him, and it is throughout, but he kind of becomes a middleman for this whole and what is really like a theme throughout most Ghibli films. This whole war between man and Lady Eboshi and the Ironworks and Princess Mononoke, who lives with the wolves out in the woods. And I think what also really strikes me about this is how it was filmed,
yeah.
because but like the actual dimensions. Do you know anything about this? Like the actual scale of the movie? Is
I
it
I'll be honest, of the 5, this is the one I don't know the most
okay?
about, but I know what you're trying to say. Like, the cinematography here
Yeah,
is really something. I can get the cinematographer's name, because I looked into this. I believe all 5 of these movies might have had different cinematographers, and that's something that,
mm,
people don't really mention much in animated films, but I thought this one in particular had just a certain feel to it. And I'll find the cinematographer's name here in just a
it
second.
did. I mean, I love how it starts off with one motive, and you just think, okay, he's going out on his trusty steed. Remember Akul, his
Yeah.
his also kind of like a Ghibli mascot, but not as much as Totoro. His little elk guy that he brings around with him, and I mean, I just think this movie is so deep. I love the idea of the deer god, I think, or the forest god, the big blue guy who turns into the deer and who is a big plot point to this whole thing. It's like everybody is kind of after this guy. And what I love is that he's a god figure. He's mysterious, he's eternal. And I love how the humans just don't get it. You're kind of just like, and again, here is this thing again about Ghibli really saying, hey, dumbass, like listen to nature. Like, don't ruin our planet, don't ruin each other, don't be mean to each other. It's really just, we have everything we need right here. And I love the where the deer god lives, because that's the river where things come to either live or they come to die. And I remember it's like it's a stretch. They bring people there to maybe heal their wounds, and that the deer god will heal them. Um, and sometimes they die. One of the crazy things about this movie is just how many different clans there are, because
Yeah.
not only is there the Ironworks, but there's also, again, the Mononoke clan, the little people who live in the forest. And in the forest, you have the Mononoke clan, the wolves, then you also have the pigs, and then you also have the monkeys. And then you also have just Ashitaka, who, I think he's described as the man from the east. He's traveling west to cure this disease. And it's just I love how it ends, because it's not like a clear victor. It's like all the main characters live, but they've learned something. which is something that I think you don't really get in a lot of Western films. Is such kind of a almost a miso soup kind of mild uh, ending to a movie, and this is a classic Ghibli trademark as well. Is this whole open-ended thing? I think it's what is it? Ashitaka and San are going to look over the forest, and I think Ebishi, the ironworks lady, is going to change her ways too, so that way she doesn't mess up the environment too much. And I think like you know, I personally like that because it shows that we can all change, really. And even like even evil people that you perceive as evil can change too. Even though the thing about Ebishi I like is that you think she's evil, you're like, oh yeah, um she's really harnessing the woods and nature for its resources and really like pillaging it and really they deserve to attack her and take down the ironworks. But then you also realize the ironworks is home to lots of people, good, hardworking, down to earth people who are just trying to make a living and need Lady Ebishi to live. And that's why I think Ashitaka is so great in that he sees that, because he Ashitaka is from a nature oriented place. He lives in the woods and it's very healthy and it's very spiritual. Not a lot of like technology, I guess you could say, but a lot of being steeped in nature, which is great. But he sees the humanness in these people who live in this city. Um, and I just love that he can see things for what they are at a face level. And somehow a middleman is able to win without being overpowered or killed or something. Uh, I also love the market scenes. There's the one great character who sees his curse, and he winds up fighting him at the end for the deer god's head. He remember that he meets him in the beginning. He like pours him the rice, and he's like, "Oh, you're going on this journey, huh?" And
Yeah. He's like,
great
"Hey, can't get
character.
this stuff anywhere else." And let's show them how we run. I liked that. I thought that was a funny. He was like, let's show these bastards how we run. They're gonna try to slit our throats when we're asleep. Like,
And that's another thing I love about this whole Ghibli film is they're not afraid to actually kill people up front right there. Like you literally see Ashitaka take off a dude's arm because his curse has given him like this ungodly strength, but it's unruly. So it's like he shoots the arrow, but he chops off the guy's whole fucking arm. And then yeah, the friend is or the friend you thought the robber who like sweet talked him is like trying to cut him at the end so he could steal this treasure.
yeah,
It's
it's
crazy.
wild to see that stuff in a Ghibli film. Like, I like to see the amount of gore that's in this. This is rated PG-13, and it's quite effective in my opinion. Like it's pretty wild. The gore, like right off the bat, like maybe 15, 20 minutes in, like you said, there's arms being taken off. There's that goo monster that infects him, and he is forever cursed
Oh
unless
yeah.
he goes. I thought that all that stuff was like, wow, this is something. And I know a lot of people kind of harken back to, oh, this is the Nausicaa of the '90s because Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was a similar movie from the '80s. That was the movie that was just before they founded Ghibli, but it's considered to be
Yes.
by a lot, the movie that let off Ghibli. I like that movie,
I like
but I
Nausicaa.
think this movie has way better writing. Like the
Yes.
characters in this are way better to me. Where, like you were saying before, the one character where and they play with all the morality, right? Like, are they good? Are they bad? Not I think a lot of these are gray area characters. And the one woman, she wants the best for her people, even if that means the
Yeah.
destruction of the environment. And I think that that's kind of a thing where, okay, what's wrong to destroy the environment? But all right, you do want to help people, so it conflicts you. I agree with you. I don't know if there are good guys and bad guys in this, but there's something that I really I like upon my rewatch of this, I was like, I have to ask Henry this, and I don't know what your answer is going to be. The name of the movie, Princess Mononoke, which
Mhm.
is a half princess warrior badass half wolf that at one point sucks the own blood out of the her
That's when you
mother.
first see her. That's
Yeah,
her first shot in the film.
iconic shot as she turns with the blood, and it's not something you expect from Ghibli, right? They have the steelbook of it. That's the artwork on it, which I got to get that steelbook now. What do you think of her character? Because of all the characters in this movie, I feel like she's one of the more. lesser, even though she's on paper the coolest.
I could definitely agree with that. And also, I mean, what can you give her besides if she was raised by wolves? w- She's has a wolf's knowledge of things, and maybe that's something that Ashitaka, because the whole, I guess they're the love interest in like the movie, I guess. Um, but he's more of like a people person, you
Yeah,
know. So it is. She's an odd duck for sure.
odd wolf.
Uh, Precisely. Uh, I mean, I like it. I like the fantasy aspect of it that, she can communicate with the wolves and, they hate humans, but she's like the exception. And that she also hates humans. That's like the whole thing. Until Ashitaka, I guess, starts to break that shell a little bit, which is fun to see. Um, but yeah, I guess you could say she's not as fleshed out as other people
Yeah, I
because she's
would
so
say so too.
unrefined.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's something I noticed upon my rewatch of this. I'm like, man, like I really like this movie, but really, like, did it have to be called Princess Mononoke? Grant, I don't know what I would have called it. I don't have like an alternative, but at the same time, I'm like, man, this could have been called something else. Like it's like it's one of
It
those.
could have been, yeah.
Yeah, I
It
still though, like don't get me wrong, I think the character's really cool. By the way, I've looked at the cinematographer's name. Atsushi Okoi is the cinematographer, and it looks like his first Ghibli was Porco Rosso,
Oh,
and then
wow.
he would go on to do almost a lot of their stuff. He actually is the cinematographer for Spirited Away, crazy enough. So,
Wow.
I don't know. I thought this one though, from a landscape perspective, and the whole idea of a war was just a stunning movie. And I think like it shows you how far they had come from Nausicaa. As good and beautiful as Nausicaa is as a war film, anime film, this one I think is just a spectacle. And
Oh
the
my god.
all of the colors in this movie, it is made to be seen in the highest of quality in a theater, like you said. And cool enough, this is playing Ghibli Fest, which if people don't know, Ghibli Fest is for 3 nights a year, every year they re-release a Ghibli title, and they usually do 12 different titles, 12 months, and they'll do 2 dubbed nights and 1 subtitled night. So you get to go and see it in whatever format you want to see it in. And this one, it looks like it's playing in July, Hank. So maybe we could shoot for
Okay.
July. That's also when Hayao Miyazaki is going to be making his comeback film, which we can talk about that as well. But
Oh
let
my
me get back
god.
to the chat here. I fell
Oh
a
my
little bit
god.
behind. We'll get back into Mononoke, no problem at all. I believe we were right here. No, I'm sorry, we were right here. I'm so far behind on anime, but it's never really been my thing, even though I could easily watch them. I would like these, I love. I love these. But when it comes to like the anime series that have been going for 30 years, I can't like I'm like, I'm not gonna start that. It's older than me. Like, and it's still going. Like I could live my
What was it?
entire life.
The gum gum fruit? Remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, what is I don't I have
That
no
was One
idea.
Piece.
Yeah, with Dan and Jonathan's fiance, I have no idea. They were like, "Oh, it's still on." I'm like, "God damn!" It was on before I was alive. I didn't know this. Princess Mononoke was the highest grossing Japanese film of all time at the time to outgross in Japan Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai and Battle Royale. Wow, that's
Wow.
crazy. I
I
did
do get
not.
Seven Samurai film vibes from this film, though. Ashitaka's journey definitely reminds me of Seven Samurai,
Sure. Yeah,
even
no,
though
and I
it's not
love
exactly
Seven
the same
Samurai.
thing.
Yeah, I read that the Seven Samurai was inspiration for Star Wars. Absolutely. Gotta go because I gotta get out of work and get home. But Princess
Oh,
Mononoke rules. Thank you,
hell yeah, man.
Professor.
Vote
Uh,
for Professor.
vote for Professor. Absolutely. Uh, talking about the Darth Vader design. Let's see. We had some more here. Bugs Life, that others, I believe.
Bugs
Also,
Life. Oh,
Kurosawa's
yeah, true, true, true.
yeah, Yojimbo was the inspiration for Sergio Leone's Fistful of Dollars, and I think Billy Bathgate and The Quick and the Dead. You guys are
Wow.
talking. One of the classic Japanese anime shows is Astro Boy, where you have the scientist who builds a robot. I love Astro Boy. They did an Astro Boy movie actually. I believe like 10, 12 years ago, which was
Very
okay.
important show.
Very important. LO, I'm better with horror, sci-fi, thriller. We all have. Oh, absolutely. I would be too, but I do love this stuff as well. Let's see. Scream 6 looks like trash. LOL has everyone doing. Nate's in the house. I would have to say Scream 6 looks like shit too. I don't know if you saw the trailer. Did
I'm
you?
not shocked. No, but I'm not
No.
shocked.
It's horrible.
I
It's
thought they'd be up to
screaming New
like
York
Scream
City.
10 at this point.
They will. They'll get there just to piss me off.
Yeah,
How's it going, guys? Doing good. You're doing great. That's good to hear. Doing good on this rainy night on the East Coast. Me too. God bless, Hank.
thank you.
Ghibli movie showings, cool, Grande. Yes, Ghibli Fest is very cool. But yeah, no, Mononoke, man, it is a spectacle. I just really, I think this has got to be in consideration for the absolute best. And I
It
think
could
you have it
be.
at a perfect spot at number 3. I really like this movie a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and again, to go back to the music, it's just fully symphonic, lush, gorgeous orchestration. I like listening to Ghibli on my own, but this is one movie where the soundtrack, I really can't listen to many of the tracks on their own. I have to listen to them in the context of the movie because they're just so intertwined. Sort of to bring back to opera, Wagner was like that. His music was a mirror image of what was happening on stage, and that's what I think Hisashi really does well in this. And talking about crying again with the Ghibli films, I cried during Mononoke because of the sheer amount of jam-packed detail there is in every single moment of this. When he's first traveling out west, and I can just hear the theme in my head right now, and it opens up to the landscape of him riding on a cool. He doesn't know his future. There's uncertainty, but oh my gosh, the path is set, and you're going to be on an amazing journey throughout the next 2 hours.
Yeah, I think this is arguably like one of my favorite adventure films of all time too. And it's funny, the one you have
Oh my god.
right after this is actually probably my favorite when it comes to adventure films. But I love Mononoke. I think it's a fucking masterpiece. So, guys, if you haven't seen Mononoke, it gets the utmost recommendation I think from both of us, and it's one that I'm definitely going to buy on Blu-ray now that I've rewatched it again.
Oh, you have to. It's a
It's
must.
yeah, I think I have like over half of the Ghiblis, and that's the one that like a sore thumb it sticks out that I don't have that one. Like it's like what
What?
the hell? You have when Marnie was there, but not Princess Mononoke. I'll never buy Earwig and the Witch, so I'll just tell you that right now. Well, we know number 1 and 2, not the order. I agree, whatever the order is. Well, thank you so much, Mateo.
Thanks
I
for being
guess
here.
that's a perfect segue to number 2. Number 2.
Yeah, so this one, it caught me so off guard. I was not expecting to feel this way about this movie. I had watched a majority of the movies already, and I kind of been pushing this one off. I hadn't heard much about it. I was like not drawn in by the thumbnail, but lo and behold, I watched this in Josh's basement with Josh and was instantly just knew that this might be their best movie of all time. In at number 2, Castle in the Sky.
Going up to a spirit in the sky. I could sing too, babe. But let's do the
I know you can.
plots it up. That's true. Yeah, we've actually covered stuff together. A young boy and girl with a magic crystal must race against time and pirates and foreign agents in a search for a legendary floating castle in the sky.
Oh,
Yes.
I hate that synopsis.
Yeah, it's a
I
bad
mean,
one.
it's true, but it's so much more than that.
Yeah, it is. Laputa Castle in the Sky. Now, I am thrilled that you have this on here because this would be in my top 3 as well. In my opinion, the
Right.
most underrated Ghibli. Like
Oh,
without a shadow of a doubt. A lot of people don't talk about this one like they do in the same breath as a Mononoke or Totoro. I actually like this better than both Mononoke and Totoro as well. So I'm happy to see it here at number 2. Walk me through this, man, because you just saw this recently for the first time. I had a similar experience where it blew me away. But what do you think about this one?
oh my gosh. I mean, it's got to be, just their best story. It's got
Yeah.
to be, I mean, it's a movie that time melts away and you're on it. And this again has some of these classic Ghibli tropes, but just done perfectly well. They have a character again that you think is one thing, but is not. Hence the pirates. You think the pirates are the first antagonists you see, and it was amazing because at first I was like, "Oh, those fucking pirates! I can't wait to see them get their justice." And then by the end of the movie, I fucking loved those pirates.
Yeah.
I was not expecting to just roll head over like, oh my god, just I was in love with all of them. I wish I could join them on those weird little aircraft things. Um, and I mean, just the twists and the turns and the information that you're figuring out as this movie goes on is just like it has you on like your hook, line, and sinker the entire time. And it's just done so well. And again, it has those mature topics, like I mean, like visually, like with the shooting of the guns and like, the rawness of these people and what a real gangster is like, what a real pirate is like. But Miyazaki does this thing where he takes like the real life version of that character, but just puts them in his fantasy world in this, which I think he does really well. Um, and it's just like, and again, this movie on the musical side of things is it's pre Mononoke, so you still have Hisashi doing his kind of like half synthesizer, avant-garde keyboard thing, and some of the more lush scores. One thing I have a piano behind me, and I have a great resource online. If anybody's interested in this, if we have any piano players in the chat, let me know. And I have a free resource to some really great piano arrangements of Ghibli songs. And Shita's Decision is maybe one of my favorite all-time Ghibli tracks. It's under 2 minutes, but it paints Laputa, where the female protagonist is from, just so well. And it's just anytime I played the song, I just picture the castle floating in the sky in my head. And again, here we go. We have Laputa, which is this green paradise in the sky, untainted from human influence, versus kind of where it's funny. And this is another thing that's so great about it, is that the boy that helps Shita, the Laputa princess, just like, what the fuck already, get back to the castle in the sky. He's like this dirty, tough kid, coal worker or something. Knows how to
Patsu.
shoot. Yes. What's his name again?
Patsu.
Patsu. Pazu. Right. Oh my
Yes.
god. And he's just like this rough and tough kid, just really smart, just like seems like a plumber's kid or something. But he again is another kid in a Ghibli film that goes on this unplanned journey that just changes his life, or and it's just what is there to not talk about with this film?
Yeah,
It's so mature.
it's beautiful, and I think there's no better opening to any of these movies. Like, I would even say the opening of this is better than Spirited Away. Like, the just entire shooting and this
Yeah.
princess and
She doesn't even know.
yeah, and she jumps out with this, magical crystal, and then it slowly, and then,
Yes.
Patsu puts his arms out, catches her, and we are off to the races on our adventure. We meet so many wonderful, colorful characters, funny characters. I love the old woman that is kind of the leader of these pirates,
Oh,
how
the
quirky and
mom.
over the top she is. In this version, in the English version, it's Cloris Leachman, and I thought she nailed it. I loved Cloris
Oh
Leachman.
my god.
You have in this version, you actually have Mark Hamill plays the villain, and everybody loves Mark Hamill from, of course, Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, and from villain voiceover roles. Of course, he's infamous for being the Joker on Batman the Animated Series. He does a wonderful job
Wow.
as a
So, yeah,
villain
I
in this.
watched the Japanese dub of this, and I
Yeah, no,
remember.
I actually have heard that people don't like this particular dub because they don't like Anna Paquin as Sheeta.
Oh, really?
And that's a shame. I like Anna Paquin. I think she's fine. I would say this is one of the better dubs for me, but again, I totally get it if people are not, because I'm generally all about, I'll watch it with the English subs. Give me the actual actors, because you could take away from the performance.
Mhm, mhm.
But I really like the characters in this movie, and I think just the fun adventure sequences, whether it be the train sequence when they're running away from the pirates when we think the pirates are bad, and this whole kind of thing where it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, and then into the caves we go and we get a little bit of character development. I would say this is arguably the best paced of any of
Yes,
them. Like,
I
I
agree.
love the pace
I
of this
agree.
movie. I know people will tell you it's too long. It's a bit over 2 hours. I don't think so at all. Like, I think this is perfect from beginning to end, man. I really, really like this movie. And I would say this is where Ghibli, like, just visually really came into its own. Like, some of the shots of the castle, and then kind of some of the commentary on this beautiful nature filled world, and then this robot handing them a flower from it. I thought that was a beautiful shot. I love the scene where they land on the castle in the sky, where
Finally.
yeah,
Oh my god.
they hug and spin and lay on the ground and kind of just take a minute to soak it all in. I love that. I think this couple, I'm probably favorite Ghibli couple. I love them together. I thought they were great. I really liked the romance. I thought it was like, while it was maybe not the most realistic, it was the most magical of all of the romances in any of these movies. And to the point where I was like, I fucking love this. Like, I want to see them live happily ever after. To the point where I was rooting for them. I just thought it was quite beautifully done. What did you think of the whole castle in the sky and how they animated that?
Um,
And maybe even some of the themes of, the technology and the old versus the new, because I think that's the big thing this movie is kind of trying to convey is the beauty of nature versus, the upcoming technological
mhm.
giants with all of these flying machines and blimps and trains and robots, and then Mark Hamill's character kind of having this evil
Oh
plan
my
and all
god.
this.
So
I think
great.
that's the big conflict here. What did you think about that?
Um, well, just to kind of go back to the actual castle in the sky itself, and this is something that I think just sort of anime in general is a pitfall, but because the animation is so beautiful and for other reasons it's so great, we kind of dismiss it. But something in anime is like they just will not give you a lot of clarity on certain things, and I think it worked really well in relation to Castle in the Sky because I believe that Sheeta was kind of sent out as a protection measure, and that's why she has that crystal. So she always has the connection to home, but obviously her home was under attack. It was under some threat. Um, and you're kind of figuring things out about the place as she is. And I think when you actually get to the castle in the sky, they're pretty much like by themselves, right? Like
Yeah,
and the robot,
and the
which just
robot. Yeah,
so you kind of are in the dark about it, but yet you still get the feeling that this was an incredibly advanced civilization for different reasons. I mean, it's almost like magicians ran this place or people that were so like shamans, it's almost not too different from reality. Some cultures have the shaman and they're the ones who perform the magic and get the visions. And I love the robot in this, and that you could argue that the robot from Castle in the Sky is like even lesser than a cool from Mononoke in terms of like a commercial character. And it's so great. I mean, just the Grande sent me the gif of the robot giving the kids the
I did the
flower.
thumbnail of this too. I love that. I think it's a
Oh,
beautiful shot,
oh my gosh.
poetic.
And what exactly. And what's great is that you really get to see the evil people be fucking evil because you realize Castle in the Sky is such a pure place of peace and so advanced, but yet people just want to exploit it. That's why the robot, when they finally are able to pry the information out of Sheeta, she literally is kidnapped. She is kidnapped by her older brother who's just using her for the information so he can be the rightful heir to Lapita, but he's not. It's her who's the rightful heir and he just can't handle that. And I also think this is a great play on like a toxic masculinity in this sense that it's just so overbearing. It's so just mine that he just winds up shooting himself in the foot. And I love that sort of he's just not meant for it because that's his person. Like she's meant for it because she's pure and good. And that dichotomy is just so it's very simple. It's kind of a trope that is done all the time, but it's just so palpable. I think it's just done so well.
I agree. She's just as pure as the castle in the sky itself. That's why it doesn't work out for the villain in this movie. It's just it wouldn't fit, and that's why I think it's. I agree. It's very palpable.
Oh my gosh. And clearly he's a smart guy. I mean, he's like the head of whatever agency he works for, but at the end of the day, he doesn't give a fuck about anybody he works with. He just wants the secret for himself. It's crazy. And that's where the real fun of the movie starts is when they get separated, when Sheeta and Patsu get separated. And then this is why I love the pirates so much, is because like the pirates are after that crystal as well that the evil brother's after. But they pirates, have limited means. They're still evil people kill and steal, but they're nothing compared to these like CIA guys. So the pirates, you know, try to intimidate Patsu and they infiltrate his home and they're eating his food and they're just you think like, oh God, they're gonna kill Patsu right now. But they use him, they know they can't kill him, but eventually it's like um he realizes that they're more of like a family and that these are the older lady is just the mom of all these pirates and the kids are just innocent and just kind of going along for the ride and they're actually harmless, and
And they all love Sheeta.
oh my god, that scene was so hilarious.
Yeah.
This is a scene where you see one of the pirates come in and see Sheeta cooking, and he's probably never talked to a girl like this before, so he's like all blushing and he's like, "Oh, she seems really nice. I think I'm gonna ask her out." And then Sheeta's like, "Oh, well, yeah, you could do the dishes." And then the pirate goes in, and then he sees his brother doing the dishes already, or like chopping carrots. So you know that she's already been approached by like all these pirates after her affection, and it's just so well done. Great comedic moment right there.
Yeah, I think I would say this, and I don't know if you'd agree with this because I know we still have a movie over this. I would say it's the most well-rounded Ghibli.
Absolutely, and that's why it ranks so high for me because it's just there's no point where you're waiting for a scene to be over or you're not enraptured about the story or there isn't a rich character, there isn't some development going on. I mean, it's amazing. And this is what I need to actually watch again, along with Whisper of the Heart, because both of those I've only seen once. And I just know that there's more that I'll get from it the second time around.
Yes.
But even still, just talking about it, it's like we could spend a whole video just talking about Castle in the Sky and talking about elements within that. I mean, it's just so, like you said, just one of the greatest openings to any of the Ghibli films, and you're off to the races. And it's a great ending. Like it's just, it's just perfect. Everyone should see this. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. It's so definitely the most underrated Ghibli out there.
Yeah, I agree. I'm weird like this. Sometimes I'll look up like I want to see other people's lists,
Yeah,
and this one's almost always towards either the middle of the pack and it doesn't even make the
really.
top 10. I'm like, middle of the pack? Really? Like what? Like I
Wow.
it makes me shake my head, but yeah, no, a lot of people say middle of the pack, maybe top 10 at most. So I'm so stoked to see you put it at number 2. When I first saw it,
Wow.
I would have told you this was my favorite Ghibli.
I
Like, when
remember
I
you told me
first saw
that.
it, I was
Yeah.
like, "I like it better than Spirited Away, I like it better," like, I remember I was, like, convinced this was gonna forever be my favorite, and
Yep.
then I saw Fireflies, and I was like, "Oh, man,"
Like,
but
oh
then
shit.
Spirited Away, I had to put over this, so this would be, my top 3, but just behind those 2 giants, but
I
that's
was I
not
was
to
pleasantly
say.
surprised when I saw this one video of somebody going to the Ghibli park and questioning people, and one of his questions was, um, what's your favorite Ghibli film? And I think he interviewed like maybe 7, 8 people, and 2 of them said Castle in the Sky. So I was like, okay, that's great. But also one person said from Up on Poppy Hill, and I was like, who are you?
Yeah,
Um,
even though you don't mind it as much as I didn't like From Up on Poppy Hill very much.
well, no, I actually think it's Goro's second best. I think Earthsea was better than Poppy Hill.
Really?
Actually, I
Wow.
really did.
We gotta do maybe we'll do a sequel to this, and we'll do a bottom 5
A B
where
side, yeah.
granted, even the worst Ghibli, it's not, like, horrible. Like, granted, I haven't seen Earwig and the Witch, I don't think I ever will, but
Well, I'm curious if I can get a little shout out for this one because this one, just a little side note. We'll do this. Have you ever seen Ocean Waves? Have you seen that one?
I actually haven't, but I know it was, like,
Oh,
made for TV, right?
yeah, and it gets a really bad rap. And I remember I watched it, and the first thing I thought was, "What was this shit?" It was like this guy getting abused by this girl throughout high school. They're kind of a relationship, and then it's 70 minutes later, and he sees her on a train station, and they decide, yeah, we're gonna be a couple. But to me, I loved it because it was just so real and just such a good 90s aesthetic. And the fact that it was made for TV, it kind of like take that movie takes you back to that era. And it's also Ghibli does these great bygone day themes where you look back on the past and you realize how far you've come, sort of. Um, and the thing that does it for Ocean Waves for me is there's this one montage where he's looking up at the castle lit up at the night sky with his friends. They're visiting back from college. And this is a really real story that, I relate to because this is me. This was my experience coming back from college and to my hometown. And all of a sudden I do appreciate things that I didn't appreciate before. And also it's another piece that I play over here on my piano is the main theme from Ocean Waves.
Oh, wow.
Gorgeous. Oh my god. And that kicks in with the scene where he's looking back on his high school experiences and where he is now. Ugh, just like that's a moment where I just well up. It's just done so well. So yeah, shout out to Ocean Waves. If you've seen the movie in the chat, like I would love to hear your opinion. People hate this movie. Absolutely
Yeah, I
bottom
know
three
it's
movie
always in
for
the
most
bottom
people.
5 for sure. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's on physical media. I don't know if it's
It's HBO Max if you have that.
oh, there you go. Okay, that would probably be the best way to watch because it's in Japanese or is it English dub?
I don't know because it was like I don't know if there's an English dub. I watched it in Japanese.
Okay, there you go. All right, that makes sense. So, okay, Ocean Waves, maybe one to be checking out.
Yeah.
Let's see. Henry, you play piano.
Yes, I do a little bit. I'm really amateur in the grand scheme of things, but I went to music school and I took lessons. I play for a high school in their orchestra pit for their musicals. I've been doing it for a few years, so there's that to keep me busy with it. I also play in a band, the Grateful Dead band. Um, so yeah, I play some piano.
Yeah, Henry is very talented. He's like a Swiss Army man. I've only seen Honky Digital is in the house. Honky, welcome my friend, the Honky Tonk Man. I've only seen one, Princess Mononoke or whatever it's called, which we just talked about. That was number 3, but I thought it was great and would definitely watch other Ghibli films. Well, absolutely. I mean, you
Take the
can't really
dive.
go wrong with much Ghibli. And sure enough, we are here. We are here. This is the number 1 Studio Ghibli film. What do you got for me, buddy?
So I almost regretted putting this as number one, but my heart told me there was no other way to do this. And I know if you've seen one, it's probably this one, and with good reason. Coming in at number one, the cream of the crop, Spirited Away.
Spirited Away, 2001, the most infamous of all of these movies, and rightfully so. A movie that is truly worth the hype. And I got a brief plot synopsis here. During her family's move to the suburbs, a sullen 10-year-old girl wanders into a world ruled by gods, witches, and spirits, and where humans are changed into beasts. Yes, Hayao Miyazaki's Spirited Away.
There we go.
This, I mean, it's one of the all-time greats. I think it's definitely the most infamous, rightfully so. Most people's favorites, and rightfully so. Walk me through the first time you saw this movie, and just let me know how much this thing blew your mind because it blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when I was a kid, and for most of my life, and even still today, I kind of live under a rock when it comes to media, and I was never a kid who was able to watch movies. Never, ever, ever. Um, Only recently, like in the past couple of years, have I been able to like really appreciate the art of a movie. But when my mom brought home Spirited Away, I'll never forget it. It was like, for some reason, the first time we watched it, we were only able to get like 3/4 of the way through it. And the next day, I had never experienced longing to like finish something as much as I did Spirited Away. It was like that movie put some hooks in me, and I was like incomplete until I finished that movie. And I just remember like walking around in my backyard, kicking the dirt, and being like, "Damn, when am I going to finish Spirited Away? Damn!" And it's just been a lifer movie for me. Even before I took my Ghibli plunge, it would be like maybe once a year or once every 2 years. I would just pop in Spirited Away and just get in the feels. It's a movie that turns on the waterworks. I literally can cry through the whole thing.
Really? Wow.
It's literally from the opening shot of just I could see it. She's in the back seat, the flowers bouncing around in the car, and the soundtrack, that opening rolling chord. One summer day, Joe Hisashi at his best. You know, and it's just you're it's probably my favorite coming of age story. Um, I really, really love this protagonist and what she goes through, and just, at the end of the movie, just to bring it full circle, he's had a repeat of the theme, the beginning theme, and her parents are no longer pigs. She just went through all the trials and tribulations that Yubaba puts her through, and the parents, have no recollection of this, so they are still in the mindset of we're moving. So they go to Chihiro, who initially, the beginning of the movie is just like, I don't want to move. This is stupid. I don't like this new town. So at the end of the movie, her parents are just like, so how do you feel about moving? Big change, right? And she just says, I think I can handle
Yeah,
it.
which is the perfect response
Oh
to
my,
the rest.
end movie roll credits, that famous title song, the credit song. Just eternal. Like, there's no way I could not put this as my number one. It will always be. Okay, coming clean conscious. I have not seen three Ghibli films. I have not seen Pompoko. I have not seen Secret Life of Arietti, and I have not seen Earwig and the Witch. And I'm confident that none of those movies would kind of change my top five. Although you said that Pompoko has wound up in some people's top fives.
I've seen it at people's number one. I've seen Pompoko, believe it or not.
And I've heard,
Arietti always towards the bottom, and
really,
Earwig, if it's not at the bottom, I think you need to get a cat exam.
yeah, I did. The one positive review I heard about Earwig was I was renting out Mononoke from the library when I first watched it, and the guy knew Ghibli, and he was like, "Oh, have you heard about Earwig and the Witch?" And I was completely new to Ghibli, I had no idea, and I was like, "Oh no, what is it?" And he's like, It's okay," and that was the best review I heard of it.
Yeah,
He was like, "It's fine," uh, but I've
still
only
good.
heard subpar things. But yeah, I mean, I I'm just like a weird guy, I'm a weird dude,
Not at
and I
all.
well, the good weird, I would say,
The
it's
best
like,
weird.
and I connect with the whole spirit realm, and just whatever Hayao is going for, I'm with it. I mean, there's also the great scene where she tries to run back, but it's too dark out, and it's the grass turns to water, and she's like freaking out. She has no idea, about what's going on, and then you see the ship coming in with all the spirits, and you have that great theme, the procession of the spirits music, and it's just, I just love the world he paints in this, and that she also has that connection to Haku already from the beginning, and you know, that thing is kind of weird to me, that he already knows her name, even though, like, I guess they had that experience where he helped her, he saved her from drowning in that river. But then, like, how would he know her name? Be-
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, it's just, you're just rooting for this girl so much through the entire thing. And what I also love, and which is something that I just try to model in my own life, is she gains so many friends and people who adore her throughout the whole movie. Um, at first, she's met with a lot of resentment. She's a human caught in the spirit world. She smells. She's lazy, uh, and which might be true. And it's a hard reality for her to wake up to. But by the end of the movie, she's so pure of heart and works so hard that, I mean, Kamachi the Boiler Man, the iconic Ghibli figure with all the arms working the boiler, grabbing all the spices, is her first obstacle. And she has to presented with, you have to get a job from this guy if you want to be in the spirit world. And that's her first ally. He sees, oh, this is a tough little girl. She has potential here. I'll be here. And also the soot balls, also iconic Ghibli figures right there, which
Sure.
also people say are the same thing as the dust bunnies in Totoro.
Very
This,
similar, yeah.
yeah. Um, but you just see her in this foreign world slowly start to gain more allies. And also, let's talk about No Face. I mean, like, oh my god, this is like kind of a character that you can see in your own life, sort of a loner character, no friends. All of a sudden, somebody shows him nicety, and that's what she is at the bathhouse. Chihiro lets him in because she feels bad. She's like, "Oh, he's in the rain," and then he's like, "Oh my god, I must worship you. You showed me this great act of kindness," Uh, uh, and just with how that all spirals out of control, and he's willing to eat all the employees that want his money, but won't lay a finger on Sen because she is pure and real and has actual kindness in her heart.
And saw
Um,
his face when no one else did.
saw exactly, exactly, and and also to go back to the whole, I really lose it when she actually gets on the train,
That's
and
the best scene in any Ghibli movie.
oh, and Miyazaki. There's a great documentary called Dream of Madness or Madness of the Dream or something like that, where it actually is a in studio documentary when they're creating Wind Rises, which was also being created at the same time as one of your favorites, Princess Kaguya.
Yes.
So the documentary follows them there, and the interviewer asks her like about Spirited Away, and Miyazaki says, um, I would have ended the movie with Chihiro on the train if I could have, because he's so right, because that absolutely is the end goal that shows she has grown. She has grown up. She is no longer this little brat that we've seen in the beginning. She's transformed into an independent, hardworking, smart, aware person. And this is another piece that I play on piano all the time is the sixth station, because that theme on the train as she's heading out into the mystery of the spirit world on this train to visit Yubaba's sister to make that peace pact. Uh, just what an act of courage and like the amount of uncertainty there and the amount of beauty. And for the longest time, one of my computer backgrounds was the shot of like the lone house on the water as they're crossing it. And I love the how hard it is to get train tickets in that world. And the train is a really rare thing to do, but her first ally, the oh my god, I just was saying his name before. The
Arm Man.
Kamaji, I think is his name. He has the tickets that's been stored up for years, and he knows, okay, this is the right person to give these tickets to. And you know how many people have probably been in her position but have failed the tests? A lot, probably. So the fact that she gets the privilege to get the train tickets and also has her companions with her, the three heads of Yubaba converted into oh no, the baby gets converted into
Into the
the,
rat.
and her little weird raven gets transformed into the little bird, I guess, and they travel together. And it's just that scene of Chihiro with no face and the rat and the little bird on the train, kind of this band of misfits on this journey together. It's like, isn't this kind of life itself? I mean, it's something that anybody can relate to, I think, if you look hard enough. It is so deep. It is so perfect. It is so just jam packed with meaning. It's my favorite, hands
Yeah.
down.
It's I that train sequence, man, just to jump on that, I think a lot of it, what's so brilliant about it is it's downtime. It's the
It is.
downtime in this movie, but it's the number one thing people remember, and you're like, "Wait, why? What movie
Yeah.
would the downtime be the number one thing you remember?" Because that's really what it is. It's that classic, iconic shot of sitting on the train next to, and then you see these spirits getting on and off in the water, and to me, it's like the greatest Ghibli scene. Like if you were to ever, say, hey, pick a favorite scene, that's the scene I'd pick because it's absolutely breathtaking visually from a thematic standpoint and meaning. It could be interpreted in so many ways.
Hmm.
I think
I think
it's a
so too.
character, a female character, right? Like most of these have strong female character leads, young female character leads, kind of growing up
Hmm.
at before our eyes into their own. Like you were saying with Chichiro, with getting the job, and entering this brand new world that's foreign to her and conquering it ultimately.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful, beautiful scene, and to me, it's everything that encapsulates not just Spirited Away, but I would say Studio Ghibli as a whole. I
I
think
also oh my god, absolutely. It is quintessential in a lot of ways. Another great scene we have to talk about is the stink spirit scene, where um, there's the stink spirit that can be smelled from a mile away coming to the bathhouse, and everyone is just gagging. Except Yubaba knows something's up with this guy. She's smart. She's evil, but she's smart, and she knows that this is more than a stink spirit. And of course, Chihiro is given the task of giving this guy his bath. Give the kid the shit job. So she
yeah,
manages to get the bath going, gets the really good token because of No Face, steals it for her because it's Chihiro and she's naturally good and pure and deserves this. Um, and what she finds is that he isn't actually a stink spirit. It's a water god. It's a water river spirit that's been tainted by human garbage. And she finds the bike handle lodged in his side. And that's when Yubaba is like, I knew it wasn't a stink spirit. I knew this was something deeper. And you feel this silence when he's finally cleansed, and you see, oh my God, you see the piles of garbage, gray slime just pouring out of him, just getting cleansed. And you feel that. And that it's also different sizes of garbage. You have things like bicycles, but you also have things down to the little fishing bobbers. And I think that's the last thing that comes out is the little, and then he's finally cleansed of all the trash that's been afflicted upon him. And then he leaves, the medicine. And I just love the shot of Chihiro just like, did I do it? Did I, she's freaking out. She's like, well, not freaking out, but she's taking it all in. She's like, what did I do? And then the old, probably like 50,000-year-old river spirit face and looks her in the face, says, good job, and just flies out of there. And you're just like, oh my God, I want to go clean up my local beach. This is so great. How can you say that's wrong in any way? I mean, it's
it's
just
yeah.
great scene.
It is. It's full of it. It really is. And I really like what Mateo said here. Spirited Away is a masterpiece. I love of Ghibli that the protagonists of the movies are kids, but the audience targeted are adults. Like they want you to go back to that time of your life in your mind. I agree with that completely. I know what you mean. And they're like, for me, it's Whisper of the Heart for that particular. Like if I had to pick a Ghibli movie,
Mm,
that's the one where I can go back. And even now, like it's not that I'm that old of them. I'm 26. It just turned 26. Not that I'm like really, really old or anything. So it's weird even to move back just a few years down the road. It still feels nostalgic and it's still, you can and kind of and capture yourself and what it was to be that age and what was going through your mind and what
hmm
dreams you had, what aspirations you desired. I think Spirited Away though is like to me the ultimate like coming of age story. I
Yeah.
really like this because it's just really a kid who gets thrown to not the wolves but to a whole new world, and I think it's arguably I would say it's the most magical of like when she's flying on
Mm. Haku.
Haku, yeah, and like he turns into the dragon, and it takes me back to a never-ending story type with Falcor, but it's so well done here how these two are together and embrace one another, and how she's supposed to pick her parents out of these pigs, and it's just beautiful. It really is. I would say it is the most beautiful of all of these movies, and definitely a movie that I'm happy gets its due and its day in the sun. This is forever going to be the most talked about and beloved Studio Ghibli film. Spirited Away from 2001. I mean, I think
This is another one you could do a whole video by
sure.
itself on. It's pick a certain topic and just spend a half hour talking about it. And you have a whole series of just Spirited Away analysis. It's just the pinnacle.
Yeah, it is,
You
and
know.
it is, and I know people do the in-depth analysis and stuff like that. It's like I like to watch those occasionally, but I also like to just think for myself and just have it's up to me. That's the beauty of movies. It's like I can choose. It's not concrete. And that's the beauty thing about Miyazaki in this particular film. And I don't know, like I said, the whole world he creates. This is my favorite Ghibli world. All the
Mm,
characters and creature designs. The amount of hard work that probably went in to designing these things and coming up with different looking, all of them look different. It's not like all this one looks the same. It's not like that. It's all of them are different in beautiful ways. I think uh
the
you know
radish spirit.
it's an absolute masterpiece. I love Spirited Away, and
Oh my god.
I don't know.
And that's really what the work I love that it's a part of the movie. You mentioned it is the hard work. I mean, that's the whole there's a track on the Spirited Away album called It's Hard Work, and it's like your classic like Eastern sounding flute music. It's like a work song, but like that's played during the montage where she's fucking up, she's like she's supposed to clean these floors, but she's really bad at it. And she's slipping and being a klutz, but it's like that's part of the process of growing up. And that's what so many people shy away from is the hard work. But that's what you need to go through your metamorphosis. That's what you need for your change is the suffering and the being bad at something and persevering until you get good at it. I mean, it's just it's
It's
a
life.
it's a life. It's life and it's very mature to be able to stick to that. 'Cause a lot of people give up and blame it on
Whine
things,
and
but
cry, and then she kind of steps over the top and comes into her own and is bigger, better, and badder than we found her at the beginning. She really does come of age before your eyes over this 2 hour plus
oh,
journey, and it's fantastic. It really is. It's I think a absolute masterpiece. So I think a
yeah,
perfect spot at number one.
I'm sure most people would agree with me.
Yes, I think so too. You did mention you wanted to give a couple of movies that just missed your top five because the thing with Ghibli, if we did a top 10, there's only like 23 Ghibli films. So it's basically like there's some that are going to make the top 10 out of this. That's why I like to do top five for Ghibli, just because there's not that many. It's definitely quality over quantity type of company. So definitely, I want to
Mhm.
give you to give me some of your ones that just maybe missed out on the list. And then we can wrap by talking about anticipation for Hayao Miyazaki's final film. Um, I
Oof.
forget the name. What is the name of the Miyazaki final film here? I can look it
The
up here.
tentative title is How Do You Live?
Yes, that's right. How Do You Live, which is coming out, set to release sometime in this July, which is cool. We
In
can maybe go
Japan.
see Mononoke. Oh, in Japan in July.
Yeah.
Well, you know how the internet is. Somebody will get it here soon enough. So,
No, I can't do that to myself. Oh my god.
well, if we have the chance to see it in a theater, we're going to a theater for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. I mean, here I am being a snob, and I'm like, I don't want to see it in the English dub. So if I could find a sub day, that'd be great. But
Sub day, sure.
figure it out. Okay, so movies that I think just missed the top five. Well, I wouldn't even say Ocean Waves is the top five, but it's just that has like a special place in my heart as like a project they gave to their young editors and said, "Have at it. Here's your project piece. Go make something of this." And they really gave a concerted effort, and you see it, and I think you feel it in a really warm way since it's a lot about bygone days and growing up. Oh, Tales of the Princess Kaguya. I mean, like, just absolutely gorgeous, dark animation. I'm just gonna go
That would
through
be
these.
my number 6. Like, if I could that would be
Yeah,
Bullet Boy for me. I love that movie.
so freaking good. I mean, just so unique. Uh, honestly, I love My Neighbor the Yamadas. I know you thought it was kind of mundane and kind of like whatever movie about nothing, but a lot of these movies just kind of point the finger back on your own life. And I love the family model, and there's a lot of things in there that you probably could feel about your own family. Um,
Yamada's is interesting because if you look, Mononoke is 97, Spirited Away is '01, and Yamada's is right in the middle at 99. Those are 3 movies came out in
oh,
succession.
really?
I really think that hurts Yamada's because it's like
It
2
does.
epic masterpieces. You had literally 2 of those in your top 3, and then Yamada like, I feel like Yamada's gets a shitty hand there because it's definitely one of the least talked about.
And I
I
think
like
rightfully
the movie,
so.
but
I
I
think
think the
rightfully so.
animation rubbed me the wrong way. I don't know. Maybe that was it.
Hmm. I think the animation complemented what it was going for, but again, there's not really much to look at. It's another one of those like Totoro ones where you really have to look at it and you kind of have to meditate on it and let it. It's kind of like that miso soup effect. It's great because of how good the the mildness of it, I guess. Um,
Yes, I know what you mean. It kind
yeah,
of reminds me of, I don't know if you were a big Roald Dahl fan growing up, like reading Roald Dahl novels. It
no,
very much reminds me of something Roald Dahl would have done, like the Twits or,
hmm.
George's Marvelous Medicine. It definitely it has
Oh,
that.
that like that, yeah,
Yeah, he also wrote Charlie and the Chocolate. That's the most famous, the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Big Friendly Giant. Like, I think Roald Dahl's
wow,
arguably the best author ever. But I think the humor in it, the
wow,
way it's presented, the animation, it feels like something straight out of like a Roald Dahl book to me. Yamada's is one I'd have to revisit, but I really think it's unfair to release it in the middle of fucking Mononoke and Spirited Away. It's like it had no chance to.
yeah. That is Takahata though, so you're not gonna say no to Takahata.
Not at all. Even though I mean Takahata is, I mean he was the heart of Ghibli. I would say Miyazaki's the brain of Ghibli, and Takahata was the heart of Ghibli. If that makes any
Mm,
sense, those two together just made that whole company.
absolutely. I could talk more about Yamada's, but I'll go on. Uh, so oh my god, when Marnie was there, what the fuck? I mean, like,
Bad one though.
this was when I was about to cast off as like this sucks, and then the last half hour, I was crying so freaking much when
Yeah,
when the townswoman dropped the bomb. Like, well, this is why you're talking to this illusion. It's because this happened. I was just like, oh my god, it made everything worth it.
I
Um,
love that one too.
oh my gosh. One that I thought I was gonna like a lot more, but didn't was Ponyo. I thought the ending was kind of weird in that. I was kind of like, uh, this built up so well, and then the ending was just, I don't know, it was just too not inconclusive, but I just wasn't that drawn to it.
I
Um,
never liked Ponyo either. I actually would agree with that. It's
yeah,
everyone kind of thinks it's like, oh, it sounds like Little Mermaid, and it's not. I would say it's one of the messier Miyazaki films for me. I don't know.
yeah,
That I would say Howl's Moving Castle is a little bit messy as well. Like I know a lot of people get angry, but I think visually that movie's a 10 out of 10. Story
yes.
wise, I think it's all over the fucking place and in a bad way.
That's why it didn't make my top 5 either, and that went through my head when I was making this list because 'cause I'm like, "This has all the makings of a top 5 movie. There's no reason why it shouldn't," but, you know and this is another thing with anime is, like, there's just times you watch something and you're like, "I have to go to Google and actually get some answers," you know? And it's a movie that people speculate over, and it's just like, Ghibli does so many concrete things so well already, but visually stunning, like, oh my god.
Yeah, visually it might be their best. It's just
Yeah.
story wise, it's like I don't know. I couldn't even tell you what's going on in it some of the time. Like it's a little bit jumbled. It's I would say it's Miyazaki, one of his most messiest. That and Ponyo back to back would be a little bit
Mhm,
messy.
mhm. Um, Porco Rosso is iconic, obviously, in its own
Love it.
ways. Um, love the female influence in that, how he breaks down and it's a whole tribe of these women who just rebuild his plane better than ever, and he's got the young girl wannabe pilot that, like, adores him and softens him up a little bit. Great movie actually about, like, I think how the feminine affects the male because Gina and that is a great character too, the singing waitress that all the hard air pirates kind of swoon over and become soft for. It's great. Um, let's see. Yeah, Nausicaa was good, a little raw, but like, absolutely you could see the beginnings of Ghibli in a great way. Wind Rises, wow, that's one I actually need to watch again. Love the story of that. Talks about Howls. Uh, Kiki's, I just saw that recently. Really, really great. I just think it doesn't really have the substance to be like a top fiver.
I think
Um,
Andrew loves that one. Andrew's always telling me he loves
he
Kiki.
saw that one at Ghibli Fest this summer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the Whisper of the Heart absolutely speaks to me as a musician, artist, and creative type. To I love the Japanese country roads. Come on, you
I love
can't
it
take
too,
that away
but
from
people
me.
say I'm fucking crazy. I don't know. Whisper of the
Nah,
Heart, I love.
shit's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are the honorable mentions from Hank. We got a couple more comments. Let's see. Roald Dahl wrote the screenplay for James Bond film You Only Live Twice. That's awesome. I've got Ponyo, but I've never watched it. Iffy
It's
for
worth a
me.
watch.
Yeah, it is
Just
worth
one.
a watch. I like Howl's Moving Castle. I don't mind how it goes. That's just me though. No problem with that. I think you're definitely in the majority. Mateo's checking out. We're gonna wrap up soon too. Mateo, thank you so much. And he put you over. He said, Henry, awesome guest host. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Appreciated.
Sean said, take care. All right. So before we wrap, how excited are you for Miyazaki's final film? This guy's retired about 50 times, so I'll
Yeah.
believe it when I see it. But he's up there. I mean, he's just turned 82 years old a couple weeks ago.
Oh
So
my god.
Miyazaki's up there, man.
Well, I mean, it's got the makings to be possibly be the best one. I think it's literally his send-off film from this world for his grandson. It's like a, this is for you. I want these lessons, and it's based on a book called How Do You Live, and I actually have it right here.
Well, go ahead.
So this is a, I don't even know if anyone's watching anymore.
We have plenty of people here.
Okay. So it's based on this book and these four protagonists. And it's, when I was reading it, I was like, how is this not already a Ghibli film? It's a children's book, but it's like one of those children's books that you review, you come back to later in life, and you have a deeper connection to it. And it's really about living with integrity and passion and not giving up on your dreams and hopes. And uh, I think doing the right thing, doing the just thing, even if it's tough. And I mean, just from that criteria alone, you have so much potential with Ghibli. And I saw there's one like um, shot of like the little guy in like the Japanese attire, and he like looking out, and it probably is a reflection of Jiro, whose nickname is Honda, weirdly enough, who I assume might be the protagonist in this one. Just like very real, down to earth story, and I think just it's a fantastic read, really easy. It's again like that kind of mild miso soup taste to it, where it's like I'm not, there really isn't anything um, really that compelling with the story, but you relate to everything in it. You're like, it's all the subtle things that most people have experienced reflected in that book that makes it, I think, so applicable to Ghibli. So I'm just like, I'm trying not to think about it because it's like July seems so far away. Um, but yeah, I think it's got the makings to be maybe the best. If it's Miyazaki coming out of retirement to do this, he's going to do it right. And I know they've been working on it for such a long time already. So it's going to be stellar, I think.
I agree. I think it's going to be a great palate cleanser as opposed to what Earwig and the Witch did and kind of soiled everybody's mind on Ghibli because, from what I understand, it is by far the worst Ghibli film. So, I mean, it is what it is.
Can you
But
maybe
I'm
tell the
looking forward to it as
story
well.
about? Could you maybe tell the story real quick about Miyazaki seeing Goro's film Earthsea?
Oh, okay. So this is okay. Goro Miyazaki is Hayao son, and he's directed 3 Ghibli films to date. Earwig and the Witch, which is a big piece of shit. From Up on Poppy Hill, which I don't really like, and Tales from Earthsea, which almost everyone considers to be the worst Ghibli. Although now I think Earwig and the Witch has taken that over. So he goes to the Sun's premiere of Tales from Earthsea. This is his directorial debut. Tales from Earthsea, a big, graphic novel, and it's going to be holy shit. Now it's the son of Miyazaki. This is going to be game changer. Halfway through the film, Hayao Miyazaki walked out and lit a cigarette in the lobby of the fucking theater. And they happened to be filming his live reaction because they were filming a documentary about his life. And so he walked out and the crew went with him and started rolling camera. And they said, Hayao, why the hell you walk out of the theater? And he looked and he said, my son is just not grown up yet. He's not ready. And basically buried his son's film, saying that in as many words, my son's movie sucks.
Love
And they
that.
caught this on fucking live film. Could you imagine the biggest, most exciting day of your career, debuting your fucking first feature film for a mega giant company that your dad made infamous, and then your dad buries you on camera, and it gets in the document. I mean, oh my god, you know that Goro was fucking probably pissed, and they didn't hug and embrace for a long
Oh my
time.
gosh.
I mean, I would be. I mean, even if it's the worst movie of all time, which Tales from Earth Sea is far from that, my dad would be like, "Good job, son." You know,
Right.
it's you have to. It's just
Goro seems like an odd duck. He's in that Madness documentary I was just talking about before, and you just see him kind of like wide-eyed talking to one of the producers, like, "What if we created a movie about this?" And they're like, Goro,
Shadow could be
we'll
too
talk."
big, man. I think the Shadow's too big. If your dad's fucking Hayao Miyazaki, you just don't. It's not possible to outdo what he did to me. Like it's not. I feel bad almost. Like it's the same thing with the Frank Sinatra Jr. It's like you're not Frank Sinatra. Like you could sound like him, look like him, dance like him, whatever the fuck like him. You're not him. It is the got to be the hardest place ever for to be a kid of a famous person, because if you can't outdo what your father did, you're always looked at as less than that. It's quite a horrific concept, to be honest. And I've seen certain outlets tackle that concept. There was a Creep Show episode that did that, which I thought was really really good. But
Mm,
I don't know. I think Goro should stay far the fuck away after the Earwig and the Witch for me.
he really did some wrong there.
Yeah, for real. Kubrick says, great discussion, guys. Sean says, yeah, Grande kills it with these discussion streams. Always keeps it interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah, we try to keep the variety, and I'm so happy Henry could join us tonight. Funny Grande. Yeah, no, that's a funny story for real. I think it's typical of Japanese culture about how you act toward your children. Well, wow, I don't know. He is Miyazaki. That's true. I don't know. I would just be like, listen, son, like, I would be good job. I'm proud of you, but let's talk about this. Like that's I think of what a good dad would do. But Hayo, he popped out a long cigarette and the camera started rolling. He was like, my fucking son is a child. I was like, what the hell? Like that is the craziest story ever to me. But
Love it.
I don't know, classic. Dude, I've had a wonderful time talking all things Ghibli with you, and I'd love to have you back on someday. I know we were talking about doing a music episode,
Mhm.
and I definitely, like I said to you, I've had an issue trying to format that one. So we will come to that conclusion somewhere down the road. You're more than
Yeah.
welcome always. But I wanted to say thank you for the list and the getting to know yous, and you were a wonderful guest in the graveyard. I want to thank you for coming on tonight.
Dude, so much fun. The pleasure is mine. And I'll see you soon, probably. We'll
Yeah,
grab a
absolutely,
bite and
man. Maybe dinner at the Voodoo Crab again, which was a lot of
that
fun.
was so good. Oh my God.
Shout out to the Bows. Absolutely.
Oh man,
All
this
right.
was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much.
Absolutely. No, it's fun. It's kind of therapeutic for me. I love it. Do it every week. It's a great way to express yourself. So, Henry, thank you so much for joining. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining. If you guys are watching the replay of this, let us know your favorite Ghibli films down below, whether you agree or disagree with Henry's picks. I don't think he went wrong on any of them, because that's an awesome top five. But everyone, we will catch you next week only on the Graveyard when John Grande dives into the vampire special. You're not going to want to miss that.
Ooh.
Everyone have a safe, happy, healthy weekend. And we will catch you next time only on the Graveyard. Too sweet, peace. We'll catch you next time.